Chapter 155. Yan Zhongning also raised his cup and said, "Sect Master Qin, here's a toast to you. Please." The servant came forward and filled the cup with tea. Qin Shujian also raised his cup to welcome him. Then, the experts from the other sects who had sent people to participate in the Yuanzong ceremony also sent their greetings. Some news paper could not wrap fire. These sects already knew that Qin Shujian had once revealed his physical aura realm technique. A protectorate lord was worth being friendly with. However, a physical aura realm expert who had broken through to the true martial realm 3 months ago was worth being friendly with. Both identities were combined. No one wanted to offend him. It was better to greet him and leave an impression on him than to ignore him. Look here, immediately, people who were friendly with these sects started to inquire in private. Not long later, the way everyone looked at Qin Shujian had changed. Protectorate Lord. They had never expected that this unfamiliar face would be the true Dominion Protectorate Lord. Instantly, some people greeted Qin Shujian and chatted with him. A Protectorate Lord. As long as he was not an enemy, there was no harm in being friendly with him. However, they only greeted him. No one showed too much eagerness. After all, everyone present was a sect's top expert. Many of them were even sect masters. It would be too embarrassing if they bowed down and licked the boots of a protectorate lord. It would be fine if there was no one around. Right now, everyone present was a reputable figure. If word got out that they had gone overboard, they would lose a lot of face. After a round of enthusiasm, Qin Shujian's surroundings quietened down. They were well aware of the reason why Marquis Baiyun had gathered everyone here. It was about the devil disaster. Many people had a cautious attitude towards this matter. Therefore, most of the people present had grave expressions on their faces, especially those from the sects of the Lingxi True Dominion. Qin Shujian took advantage of this opportunity to scan the crowd with his spiritual eye. There were already 20 to 30 people in the banquet hall. Every one of them represented a sect's power. In his eyes, everyone's cultivation level could not be concealed and was exposed. The 8th level of the martial realm. The 10th level of the martial realm. The 10th level of the martial realm. The 9th level of the martial realm. None of them were lower than the 8th level of the martial realm. Among them, the great elder of the Golden Sun sect was only at the 9th level of the martial realm, which surprised Qin Shujian. If he remembered correctly, the other party was known as the number 1 master of the Gold Sun sect. It seemed that the Gold Sun sect was a little weak. Either it was just that this great elder still had other hidden methods. It was a pity. The more powerful a person was, the fewer attributes they could see. All the people present were at least at the 8th level of the martial realm. Qin Shujian could only see a name and a level. Everything else was blank. Regarding this, he had also discovered another flaw in the spirit eye. Originally, his face was covered, so he couldn't see through it. Right now, he was too strong to see the complete picture. I wonder if my spiritual eye can be upgraded. Such a thought appeared in Qin Shujian's head. However, as soon as this thought arose, it was temporarily suppressed by him. Because he had obtained the spirit eye for so long, he had never seen an option to upgrade his spiritual eyes. Maybe it was because he couldn't level up. Or maybe it couldn't meet the requirements. About 10 minutes later, a middle-aged man with a scholarly appearance in a black robe stepped in from the outside. The banquet hall suddenly became quiet. The sudden silence also attracted Qin Shujian's attention. When he followed the others' gazes and looked outside, he found that there was one more person. Suddenly, Qin Shujian's heart skipped a beat. Before he could think too much, he saw the others stand up. He hesitated for less than half a breath and then stood up as well. Marquis Baiyun! At this moment, even the experts at the peak of the martial realms such as Gui Haichuan became serious. Then he walked to the main seat and sat down. His gentle voice spread throughout the banquet hall. You don't have to be so polite. Please sit down. Thank you, Marquis. Only then did they take their seats. I believe all of you are well aware of the reason why I've gathered all of you here today. So, I won't beat around the bush. Marquis Bayun glanced at everyone. The smile on his face faded a little as he spoke in a serious tone. When Marquis Bayun spoke, Qin Shujian was also secretly sizing up the Marquis. Marquis Bayun had been in power for more than 200 years. But in his eyes, Marquis Bayun seemed to be only in his 30s or 40s. Qin Shujian didn't think he was fake. Then there was only one possibility. He had a skill to retain his youth. In other words, his realm had reached an extremely high level, which could greatly increase his lifespan and even reduce the speed of aging. At the same time, the information about Marquis Bayun that he had read before also flashed through his mind. Marquis Bayun Xiao Chengfeng. More than 200 years ago, the previous Marquis Bayun passed away, and Xiao Chengfeng took over the title. Marquis Bayun was in charge of 3,600 cities in Bayun Mansion. In addition to the powerful force behind him, Marquis Bayun himself was also an extremely terrifying expert. Marquis, how serious is the devil disaster now? The person who asked was Yan Zhongning, the first elder of the Golden Sun sect. After he finished speaking, the others also listened carefully. The extent of the devil disaster was the question they were most concerned about. Xiao Chengfeng said, "According to my estimation, there are 3 demons who have broken the seal. Now that the desolate void ordinary realm has completely transformed into a devil protectorate, the monstrous devil chi might speed up the improvement of the devil protectorate. In a month or 2, it might even reach the level of the true dominion. There are more than 1 million living beings in the desolate void ordinary realm, and countless corpses have been buried over the years. Now, the devil disaster has caused tens of millions of corpses. Once the devil disaster walks out of the desolate void ordinary realm, it will not only be a disaster for a city or a province, but also for the entire Bayun Mansion. Everyone here is based in the Bayun Mansion, so I'm sure you don't want to see the devil disaster wreak havoc. That's why I've gathered everyone here today to discuss this matter." After he finished speaking, the scene fell into silence. No one had expected that the devil disaster had already reached this stage. 3 demons had broken the seal. This was absolutely unimaginable. Although every new ordinary realm could be accompanied by the birth of many demons, the seal was very strong. At the same time, the seal suppressing the nefarious devils was also extremely stable. Moreover, it was very effective against the nefarious devils. It basically eliminated the possibility of other nefarious devils killing their own kind. Therefore, they had never expected that the 3 demons would break the seal in the desolate void ordinary realm. Even Qin Shujian. When they heard that the 3 demons had broken the seal, they were all shocked. Immediately someone asked, "If the 3 demons leave the desolate void ordinary realm, there will be a huge devil disaster. What's your plan, Marquis?" "I've already reported to the Imperial Court. Now, I've mobilized millions of troops from various places to stop the devil disaster. In addition, I've also invited many powerful cultivators from the army to deal with the demons. However, these powerful cultivators are very far away. Even if they use the teleportation gate, it will take some time. However, the matter of dealing with the demons cannot be delayed. Every day we delay, the demons will grow stronger. Therefore..." Then, Xiao Chengfeng looked at the crowd and said in a deep voice, "I've decided that all sects will send people to assist the army in resisting the devil disaster. The weakest cultivator must be at least stage 6 of the basic martial realm. There must be at least 1,000 people. In addition, those above stage 7 of the true martial realm will follow me into the desolate void ordinary realm to reseal or kill the demons." Regarding this decision, the sects of the Lingxi True Realm were the first to agree. Most of the other sects had no objections. However, someone hesitated and said, "Marquis, the Cloud Mist sect is weak now. I'm afraid we can't send too many people to help." "Can you send fewer people? The devil disaster is not only related to the Bayun Mansion, but also the great Zhao dynasty and all the people in the world. The sects are already helping the imperial court by collecting tributes from all sides. As the saying goes, soldiers are trained for 1,000 days to be used in an hour. If anyone backs down at this juncture, the imperial court will be bitterly disappointed. Xiao Chengfeng shook his head and said with a gentle expression. The Cloud Mist sect master was stared at by Marquis Baiyun and immediately broke out in cold sweat. He hurriedly said, Marquis is right. The Cloud Mist sect will definitely help to resist the devil disaster. At this moment, he also woke up from his daze. The person in front of him was Xiao Chengfeng, the Marquis Baiyun who controlled the 3,600 cities in the Baiyun Mansion. His words, in the Baiyun Mansion, he was equivalent to the imperial court. If the Cloud Mist sect angered Marquis Baiyun, they would be turned into ashes in an instant. The others looked coldly at the Cloud Mist sect master and secretly shook their heads at his unwise behavior. If Marquis Baiyun didn't care about it, then so be it. If he really wanted to care about it, just this sentence alone could make the Cloud Mist sect disappear completely. I'm not forcing you, but the devil disaster really can't be underestimated. Since no one has any objections, I'll give you 3 days. After 3 days, the disciples of the various sects can go to the front line of the devil disaster to fight the enemy or follow the army. In addition, I'll set up a tent in the army. The experts of the various sects who need to enter the desolate ordinary realm to kill the devil disaster can all gather in the tent. While speaking, Marquis Baiyun clapped his hands. Suddenly, 4 people came in from outside, each holding a tray in their hands. Xiao Chengfeng said, This is the pass of the Baiyun Mansion. The holder of the pass can pass through any territory of the Baiyun Mansion. No one can stop the holder of the pass. Now, each of the sects will have 1 pass. You have to return it after the event. While speaking, people had already taken the tokens and left one after another. Qin Shujian was the same. The moment he took the pass, he saw the attributes of the pass. Name Baiyun Mansion Pass Token Description. With this pass, you can walk through the 3,600 cities of the Baiyun Mansion. You will no longer be affected by the identity of the leader of the forces and will not trigger the warning of the heavenly Tao. It was a simple introduction, but it made Qin Shujian's eyes light up. With this pass, it meant that he could step into other people's sphere of influence at will and no longer have to worry about being detected by the other party. This was for him. It was a very practical thing. The only pity was, this was only temporarily lent to him, and he would have to return it after the event. Chapter 156. He walked out of Marquis Baiyun's villa. Just as Qin Shujian was about to leave, he saw that Gui Haichuan was not standing there. Sect Master Gui Haichuan! Even if he did, it was impossible for him not to greet him. Gui Haichuan glanced at Qian Shanxue, who was behind Qin Shujian, and said with a smile, Sect Master Qin, I haven't seen you for a few days. Your cultivation level has improved. I'm afraid it won't be long before you reach the peak of the true dominion. My cultivation level is insignificant. It's nothing. If the physical aura realm is considered insignificant, then I'm afraid there won't be many experts in the true dominion. Gui Haichuan smiled and then said seriously, I'm waiting for you here because I have something to tell you. Qin Shujian frowned and said, What is it? I hope you can fight me when you reach the 10th level true martial realm. Why? We just want to exchange pointers and verify it. Gui Haichuan shook his head slightly and cupped his hands. We'll meet again in 3 days. I look forward to fighting alongside you. Upon saying that, he turned and left immediately. Qin Shujian was left standing where he was, looking at the others back as he left. To be honest, he was still very confused. He had just come out of Marquis Baiyun's villa when he had received a challenge letter for no reason. The other party had said that it was an exchange of pointers. In fact, it was a challenge. Looking at the status of the sect leaders of both sides, no matter who lost, it would not look good for them. However, he had avoided the challenge. Qin Shujian did not have the habit of walking in a different direction when others approached him. I'm afraid I'll beat you to death when I reach the 10th level true martial realm. Qin Shujian shook his head and left through the door of Marquis Baiyun's villa. This trip to the ancient city had broadened his horizons. He had only seen Marquis Bayun's strength through a small villa. After all, this was not the real Marquis Bayun's villa. It was just a small villa in the ancient city. Marquis Bayun's villa existed in most of the 3,600 cities in the Bayun prefecture. If this was the case, the Marquis Bayun's villa alone was enough to shock people, not to mention the strength behind Marquis Bayun. As for the Marquis of Bayun, Xiao Chengfeng, furthermore, he was an extremely terrifying expert. When facing the other party, Qin Shujian did not dare to use his spiritual eye to look at his attributes. Just as he was about to use his spiritual eye, a premonition arose in his heart. If he did, he would definitely be noticed. Qin Shujian firmly believed in this kind of feeling. He came out of Marquis Bayun's mansion. Qin Shujian immediately left the ancient city and rushed towards the true dominion of Mount Liang. He arrived quickly. He returned quickly too. With the pass token on him, he could be said to have no more scruples. As for the reason why Marquis Bayun had temporarily given them the pass, Qin Shujian could roughly understand it. After all, the various sects needed to send people over. However, in every region, the forces were intricate and complicated. A single mistake could easily cause unnecessary trouble. He held the pass in his hand. Then there wouldn't be any problem. In the Bayun mansion, no one dared to disobey Marquis Bayun's orders. In less than a day, Qin Shujian directly returned to Yuan sect. Shortly after, he directly issued a large-scale mission to the players. It consumed 10,000 points of life source. All the players above the 6th stage of martial arts received the system's message. Large-scale mission, exterminate the demon disaster. Mission content, the demon disaster in the desolate ordinary realm is wreaking havoc and the people are in a terrible situation. As the people of the Great Zhao Kingdom, we should volunteer to do our best to stop the demon disaster from spreading. Mission requirement, kill the demon disaster. The number of demons killed 0. Mission reward, a huge amount of experience points, a huge amount of contribution points. The specific contribution points are determined by the number of demons killed. When they saw this mission, all the players were in an uproar. Large-scale mission. Another large-scale mission. In the previous extermination of the rebel army, many players had already tasted the sweetness and reaped enough benefits from it. Now that there was a large-scale mission, naturally, many players rushed over like ducks. More importantly, the mission reward this time was more generous than the previous one. Not to mention anything else. Just the huge amount of experience points alone was enough to stimulate people's eyes. Moreover, there was also a huge amount of contribution points. Speaking of the demon disaster, many players were familiar with it. When the demon disaster wreaked havoc in the Undying Plains, someone posted a video of the demon disaster on the forum. For those weak skeletons that relied on numbers to win, in the eyes of today's players, they were clearly walking contribution points. As long as it was done properly, they could definitely obtain a huge amount of contribution points. As for the mission requirement of the 6th stage of martial arts, that was even less of a problem. The game had been open for a few months. Except for those who had just entered the game not long ago, the others had already crossed the boundary of the 6th stage of the martial arts. There were even quite a few who had reached the 10th stage of the martial arts. The only thing that bothered them was the transformation from the basic realm to the true martial realm. The amount of experience required was simply too much. Currently, there were many players in the Yuan sect who had reached the 10th stage of the basic realm. However, there was not a single person who had truly crossed this threshold and entered the true martial realm. But this mission, it gave those players at the 10th stage of the basic realm hope. Just as the Yuan sect players were brimming with enthusiasm, Qin Shujian was still cultivating on the peak of Mount Liang. This time, they were going to fight against the demon disaster. He did not intend to let the Yuan sect NPCs participate. Instead, he wanted to take all the players out to fight. Because the NPCs were going to fight against the demon disaster, killing them would not increase their realm. Instead, if they were careless and died, it would be a permanent loss. On the other hand, the players. Not only could they increase their realm by killing the demon disaster, they could also revive if they died in the hands of the demon disaster. If they did not use such people and insisted on wasting their own resources, they would really be fools. Looking at the little remaining source of life, Qin Shujian didn't make any further progress and continued to cultivate his cultivation method. This time, he still focused on cultivating the raging flame technique. A day passed. Overall, there was not much change. In the martial arts practice field, almost all the players had gathered here. These people, all of them had accepted the mission to eliminate the demon disaster. When Qin Shujian appeared, the originally noisy scene immediately calmed down. The demon disaster is wreaking havoc. As Yuan sect disciples, you are willing to volunteer. I feel very gratified. Now, follow me to the desolate ordinary realm. Qin Shujian looked at the crowd and his voice was transmitted to everyone's ears. Immediately, Qin Shujian took the lead. A large number of players followed behind him. A few thousand players was not a small number. Along the way, it could also be described as mighty. Marquis Beiyun had originally only asked for 1,000 people from each sect. However, to Qin Shujian, 1,000 people was not enough. How could 1,000 people kill the demon disaster and obtain the source of life be faster than 2,000 or 3,000 people kill the demon disaster and obtain the source of life? However, if there is a chance in the future, I must create a teleportation portal in the Liang Mountain True Dominion. It would be best if it is in Yuan sect. Looking at the many players following behind him, Qin Shujian felt that he had lowered his status. However, there was no other way. Not many sects had something like a teleportation gate. Even among the many cities, only a portion of the heavyweight cities had teleportation doors. Such a thing. The price was extremely high. Moreover, it could not be built just because one wanted to. There had to be a corresponding teleportation location. Otherwise, after entering the teleportation portal, one might be randomly teleported to another place. Even Qin Shujian did not know much about the teleportation portal. He had only learned about it from others. The Wasteland Ordinary Realm. Currently, the entire realm had been contaminated by the demonic qi and turned into black soil. In the sky, the sun could no longer be seen. Only the black demonic qi enveloped heaven and earth. The heaven and earth spirit qi drifting in this area had been corroded by the demonic qi and transformed into new demonic qi. If the immortal plains were considered a land of death, then this place. It was already a demonic realm. Many dead skeletons climbed up from the soil and walked out of the demonic realm in a mighty manner. A large number of skeleton knights were mixed in with the ordinary skeletons. The strength of each skeleton knight was far superior to the skeleton knights of the immortal plains. They had reached the peak of the 10th stage of the basic martial arts realm. In addition, there were also huge skeletons that looked like giant beasts that were charging forward. The wails of vengeful spirits resounded in the sky of the demonic realm. Outside the wasteland ordinary realm, a large number of troops had gathered. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers surrounded the wasteland ordinary realm. Any demon disaster that tried to break out of the ordinary realm suffered a fatal blow. However, the attacks of the army were powerful. However, the demon disaster also followed the will of the demons. It completely ignored any attacks and charged toward the outside world. Everyone, do not retreat. We must stop the demon disaster. Kill! Bloody battles were happening all the time. An intense killing aura exploded from the army in a futile attempt to disperse the demonic qi that was enveloping them. The sabers and swords in the soldiers' hands were already constantly slashing the dead skeletons. In the main tent of the army, Xiao Yunsong looked at the scene of the battle with a solemn expression. Where are the people from the other sects now? People from 2 sects have already arrived. However, they did not join the army. They are eliminating the demon disaster on their own. The deputy general beside him replied truthfully. Eliminating them on their own? Xiao Yunsong sneered. These sects really do not know their limits. In his opinion, the number of demon disasters was huge. Unless they formed an army, the sects could only rely on themselves to fight against the demon disasters. At most, they would only increase their strength slightly. However, Xiao Yusong did not say much on this issue. After all, the people from the sects were ultimately not from the army. It would not be inappropriate for him to criticize them too much. As more and more demon disasters surged toward the battlefield, some of them even broke out of the ordinary realm and entered the true dominion. A skeleton knight charged into the true dominion. Its original cultivation level of the 10th stage basic martial realm instantly soared. In an instant, it transformed into the 5th stage true martial realm, and its strength reached the inner energy realm. Immediately it exploded with a terrifying power and killed dozens of soldiers. At the same time, the true martial realm cultivators in the army also attacked immediately. A few outer energy realm cultivators attacked together and killed the skeleton knight directly. Upon seeing this, Xiao Yunsong immediately ordered, "Everyone below the outer energy realm in the army, attack together with the army to eliminate the demon disaster." Chapter 157. In the True Dominion, true martial realm cultivators were considered experts. However, in the Imperial Army, they were only slightly more powerful. This time, the army that the Marquis of Northern Cloud had transferred from other places was definitely powerful. Xiao Yunsong gave the order. Thousands of true martial realm experts immediately attacked. The experts were at least at the 6th stage inner aura realm. The weakest ones were only at the 1st or 2nd stage of the true martial realm. However, most of them were between the 3rd and 4th stage of the true martial realm. As a large number of true martial realm cultivators attacked, the pressure on the army to resist the demon disaster decreased slightly. However, it was only slightly. This was because the demon disaster that rushed out of the ordinary realm was basically at the inner aura realm. The true martial realm cultivators that entered the ordinary realm were only at the 10th stage of the basic realm. To this, Xiao Yunsong's expression did not change much. He had never thought that thousands of true martial realm cultivators could solve the problem of the demon disaster. If that was the case, the demon disaster would not be scary enough. "Is there any news from the Marquis side?" Xiao Yunsong asked the deputy general beside him. "Not at the moment. I understand. You can leave now." Xiao Yunsong waved his hand with a serious expression. The demon disaster had erupted too quickly. In less than half a month, it had already spread to a terrifying extent. Half a month did not seem short. However, it was definitely not long. When a demon disaster broke out in the ordinary realm, the news had to be sent to the higher-ups. Then, the higher-ups would issue orders and deploy troops layer by layer. This would also take about the same amount of time. For example, the demon disaster on the immortal plane. When that evil demon was only wreaking havoc in a corner of the ordinary realm, they had just received the news and were preparing to deploy troops to seal and kill the evil demon before it matured. In the end, they had received news that the evil demon had been killed. However, this time, the demon disaster had happened too quickly. In half a month, the entire desolate ordinary realm had been conquered. The news of the 3 evil demons had shaken the entire Baiyun prefecture. Xiao Yunsong was only a collateral relative of the Baiyun Marquis mansion. Although he had been ordered to resist the demon disaster, he had not thought that he could suppress it with his own strength. He could block it. That was already good enough. As for the others, Xiao Yunsong did not dare expect too much. On the other side, when Qin Shujian arrived, he was just in time to see the two sides fighting. When an unfamiliar group approached, someone was immediately ordered to inquire about it. "May I ask which sect you are from?" "Qin Shujian of Yuanzhong and his disciples are here to fight against the devil calamity." After saying that, Qin Shujian handed over the pass that Marquis Baiyun had given him. That person extended his hand to receive it. After flipping through it once, he respectfully handed it back. "So it's Sect Master Qin of the Sky Origin Sect. I wonder if your sect's disciples will be accompanying the army to battle, Or will they be heading to the demon territory to kill the enemy? I'll have to trouble the army to make way for us. My sect's disciples will go ahead and kill the enemy. All right, please wait a moment, Sect Master Qin. After that person finished speaking, he immediately turned around and went back to report. At this moment, the players standing behind Qin Shujian could also sense the murderous aura in front of them. At this moment, the blood in their hearts seemed to be stimulated. Many players' faces were slightly flushed, as if they were looking forward to joining the battle. In less than 2 or 3 minutes, the army in front of them had already made way for them. Seeing this, Qin Shujian immediately walked forward. The players behind him followed closely. When they arrived at the front of the battlefield, looking at the skeletons that covered the mountains and plains, as well as the scene of the army charging and killing, all the players were stunned. For these people who grew up in peaceful times, war had always only existed in virtual images for the players. Such a scene. It was the first time they had seen it. When there were more than 10,000 people, it was boundless. Standing at the border of the desolate ordinary realm, Qin Shujian's spiritual eye could see the devil aura that had already covered the sky in front of him. It had rendered the place into a demon territory where all living things were extinct. In the demon territory, there was no room for heaven and earth's spiritual qi to exist. Even though he had not really entered the desolate ordinary realm, he could still feel the terrifying devil aura. Behind him, Qian Shanxue was humming silently. As disciples of Yuanzong, now that the devil calamity is right in front of you, what are you waiting for? Qin Shujian shouted coldly. The players behind him immediately reacted. That's right. The devil calamity was right in front of them. Every one of them was a walking contribution point and experience point. How could they waste such an opportunity? Instantly, all the players charged towards the devil calamity. Qin Shujian turned around and did not charge into the devil calamity with them. This time, all kinds of physical invulnerability experts had to be sent out to join forces and charge into the devil calamity to kill the demons. As the only physical invulnerability expert in Yuanzong, there was naturally no need to say more. According to Marquis Baiyun, Qin Shujian directly found a general. Although it was not the top, it was definitely not something that ordinary people could look up to. At least, true martial realm cultivators like them were not qualified to face a divine martial realm expert. Even Qin Shujian, their hearts were also slightly shaken. Divine martial realm. That means that Marquis Baiyun is at least in the divine martial realm, or even higher. Until now, Qin Shujian already knew what the divine martial realm was. Above the true martial realm was the spiritual martial realm. Above the spiritual martial realm was the divine martial realm. He also wanted to know what the divine martial realm experts were capable of. Although the evil demons were rumored to be in the god martial realm or above, the undying evil lord did not let him feel the strength of this level at all. If there was a chance, he wanted to see it for himself. Hearing Marquis Baiyun's words, Bei Haichuan's eyes lit up when he looked at the 4 people. The words, divine martial realm, seemed to have shocked him greatly. Everything is up to you, Marquis, the others said in unison. Marquis Baiyun was sitting there. Everything was decided by the other party. Even though it seemed to be a discussion, everyone was very clear in their hearts. If anyone was stupid enough to give any suggestions or opinions, then they would be finished. Since everyone has no questions, I will not waste any more time. Marquis Baiyun smiled gently at first. Then, his expression turned solemn as he said in a low voice, Let's go! Let's go! These 2 simple words were filled with an iron-blooded and austere aura. Immediately, Marquis Baiyun took a step into the air and a vast aura erupted instantly. Then, the 4 divine martial realm experts also released their own aura and pushed it to the limit of the true martial realm. Then, the 4 of them also took a step into the air. Seeing this scene, everyone's heart trembled violently. Flying. This was a technique that true martial realm experts did not have. Qin Shujian's pupils constricted. Based on his perception, he could clearly sense that the few of them had not used any strength that exceeded the limit of the true dominion. This kind of flying technique, it was more of a technique than a strength. Regardless, of course, Qin Shujian couldn't do that. Marquis Baiyun and the 4 divine martial realm experts took a step into the desolate void ordinary realm. Qin Shujian and the others did not hesitate. They all unleashed their powerful strength and flew into the air at an extremely fast speed. Although it was not as shocking as when Marquis Baiyun and the others took a step into the air, their speed was not much slower either. Hundreds of people leaped into the air and a series of explosions sounded in the air. The aura they gathered shook the sky. When they sensed this terrifying aura, many people turned their heads to look. Then, they saw the scene of them taking a step into the air and were shocked. Then, they saw many figures coming through the air and were shocked again. At the border of the desolate void ordinary realm, the players were attacking the devil disaster in groups when they suddenly sensed a powerful aura approaching from behind. They could not help but turn their heads to look. What the F***CK? Flying? Are they immortal cultivators? Who are they? Look! Is that person the sect master? Seems like it. Chapter 158. They watched as Marquis Baiyun and the others entered the desolate ordinary realm. Then, a group of people with powerful auras flew past them and followed them into the demon disaster. The players who had been fighting against the small wave of demonic plague were shocked to see this. What was going on? Did they come to the wrong channel? Flying? Celestial? After entering the game for so long, they had never seen an NPC who could fly. At most, they could fly for a short time like Qinggong. More importantly, they saw a familiar figure among the experts who flew past. Liang Mountain Fort Master! Qin Shujian. Even though he was the sect master of Yuan sect, the players were still used to calling him Liang Mountain Fort Master. What are they going to do? Lu Dezhong asked in bewilderment as he used his movement technique to deal with a 10th stage martial realm skeleton knight. They're probably going to kill the leader. Miao Yuqing frowned. She had a vague idea of what Qin Shujian and the others were planning. Or else, so many experts entered the desolate ordinary realm just to deal with the skeletons in front of them. As players, they also knew that the devil calamity was caused by the evil demons. As long as the demons were eliminated, the problem of the demon disaster would naturally be solved. Lu Dazhong's mind drifted when he heard this. Suddenly, a bone spear brushed past his cheek. The sharp aura even made his skin hurt. He immediately came back to his senses. Forget it. Let's kill as many skeletons as possible first. He used his movement technique and slashed with the long saber in his hand. In an instant, the saber aura exploded. It was as if there were ghosts wailing, causing the soul fire of the skeleton knight to flicker. Mid-grade true rank martial technique. Wise King Prison Shattering Saber. This martial technique. It could be said that he was famous among the players. After all, on the 3rd floor of the library, before Qin Shujian purchased the other 2 middle-grade true rank martial techniques, this was the only middle-grade true rank martial technique on the 3rd floor of the library. Furthermore, it was a saber technique. It could be said that the standard weapon of Yuan's sect was a long saber. A mid-grade true rank saber technique just happened to complement each other. For the sake of learning this saber art, many inner court disciples had accumulated contribution points with all their might, all for the sake of entering the 3rd level of the library and taking a peek at the true appearance of a true rank martial art. Lu Dazhong also spent a large amount of contribution points to obtain a chance to enter the 3rd floor of the library. Within 2 hours, he couldn't learn the complete Wisdom King Prison Shattering Saber, but he had learned the first move. Limitless Hell. Even if it was just one move, it was still a mid-grade true rank martial technique. It was not something an ordinary mortal rank martial technique could compare with. Lu Dazhong relied on this move as a trump card. Although it wasn't always successful, there weren't many who could contend against it. A saber light flashed past. The soul flame of the skeleton knight was instantly extinguished. A surge of EXP flowed into Lu Dazhong's body, causing him to take a look at his stats. There was still a considerable distance before he could level up. While Lu Dazhong was killing the skeleton knights, the other players did the same. Today's players were no longer the same players as before. In their eyes, the 10th stage of the martial realm was barely equivalent to an elite monster, not even a boss. From the moment they entered the desolate ordinary realm's border until now, hundreds of undead skeletons had died to their methods. But in the face of millions or even tens of millions of undead skeletons, hundreds of undead skeletons, it was no different from a drop in the ocean. Facing the endless demon disaster, thousands of players rushing in were like a few grains of sand in the ocean. After understanding the difference between the enemy and themselves, all the players reached a consensus. That was the rotation system. First, a group of players would erupt with their strongest strength, then kill a portion of the undead skeletons. Then, another group of players would go up. This way, it would ensure that no one would be exhausted. It would also ensure that everyone would be able to kill undead skeletons and obtain EXP and contribution points. After all, none of the players were fools. Everyone understood. In the face of such numbers, an individual's strength was completely useless. Not to mention, their strength compared to these undead skeletons had almost no advantage. It was important to know one's own strength. If one's strength was not enough, one had to admit it. In this way, as long as they didn't encounter a crushing attack, there wouldn't be too much of a problem. Apart from that, at the border of the desolate ordinary realm, there were also many people divided into different camps, fighting under the encirclement of the undead skeletons. These people were the disciples of the other sections. Unwilling to fight with the army, that was the sects fighting together. But in the face of the endless demon disaster, it was impossible to not suffer any losses. Roar! A sharp howl was heard, instantly causing people to lose their minds and be stunned on the spot. Then, they saw a slender black claw pierce through, directly crushing the heart of a sect disciple who was stunned on the spot. Junior Brother Lin! Seeing this scene, the others immediately reacted, roaring with their eyes wide open. Then, they exploded with powerful attacks, wanting to kill the bird-like monster. Then, the bird-like monster flapped its bone-like wings, and its body was already in the air, directly dodging everyone's attacks. Instantly, a female disciple rushed forward, hugged the corpse that had already fallen to the ground, and cried out loud. However, without waiting for her to cry for long, a palm directly pierced through her chest, causing a trace of astonishment and disbelief to appear in her red eyes. Junior Sister Joe! The sudden turn of events caused everyone else to be stunned. But someone quickly reacted, shouting in grief and anger. Be careful! Anyone who dies in the hands of the demon disaster will be turned into a member of the demon disaster. Not long after he finished speaking, Junior Brother Lin and Junior Sister Zhou's corpses directly stood up. Their flesh and blood had already been corroded by the demon qi, and their eyes had become hollow, replaced by burning soul fire. The next moment, the two revived people then charged towards their original fellow disciples. Such a scene. It was everywhere on the battlefield. But anyone who died in the hands of the demon disaster would immediately be turned into a new member of the demon disaster, waving a butcher's knife towards their former teammates. Some people who were unwilling to attack their former companions mostly died in the hands of the other party. In this way, the remaining people could only harden their hearts and attack their former companions. At this moment, many birdman monsters with skeletal wings on their backs appeared on the battlefield. They had the advantage of flying, and their speed was extremely fast, killing many people in a short time. Fallen Bone Demon! In the middle of the army, Xiao Yunsong looked at the birdman monsters flying in the distant sky, his face instantly becoming extremely solemn. Fallen Bone Demon! It was one of the most difficult monsters to deal with in the demon disaster. The biggest advantage of these monsters was that they could fly. Ordinary armies had almost no chance of stopping them. They could easily break through the army's blockade and enter another realm. As expected, the moment the fallen bone demon appeared, It directly crossed the boundary of the desolate void ordinary realm and entered the Lingxi True Dominion. When it entered the True Dominion, the fallen bone demon's body immediately exploded with a powerful aura, and its cultivation level rose steadily, reaching the peak of the 6th level of the true martial realm. With the ability to fly, even though it was only at the 6th level of the true martial realm, it was not much weaker than a physical invulnerability expert. The valiant fallen bone demon broke through to the physical invulnerability realm directly, approaching the peak of the true martial realm. Subsequently, it was a bloody massacre. In the face of hundreds and thousands of fallen bone demons, the soldiers in the army suffered heavy casualties. In just 1 or 2 minutes, thousands of soldiers had died. Then, under the influence of the demon chi, they turned back into members of the demon disaster. However, now, there was another evil corpse. Just by looking at his tall body, even if he was in the 10th stage of the martial realm, he was definitely a boss-level existence. What are we going to do now? There are these damned fallen bone demons above us, undead skeletons and skeletal knights around us, and now there's an evil corpse boss. We're going to be wiped out. Some players complained helplessly. They had never thought that one day they would be troubled by too many strange things. Wanjiu looked at his mission and the almost full experience bar of the basic realm cultivation technique. He said, "What's there to be afraid of? Even if we're wiped out now, we'll definitely make a profit this time. Hey, it seems to be true. I killed dozens of undead skeletons and 2 skeletal knights. The contribution points won't be small, right? Is there anyone who changed the resurrection point? If so, don't hide it." Some of the players also took a look at their own loot, and immediately smiled. A huge fist came at him, and Lu Dazhong was forced to retreat while coughing up blood. Looking at the group of players behind him, he was so angry that he wanted to vomit more blood. "Why are you guys still chatting? I'm going to be hammered to death by this boss. Damn it, which one of you didn't bind the resurrection point to the Lingxi True Domain? What are you guys talking about?" The resurrection point could be changed at any time. He didn't believe that these B** stars didn't secretly change the resurrection point to the Lingxi True Domain. After all, it was a large-scale mission. If anyone tied the resurrection point to the Yuan sect, it would take a day or 2 to come back after dying. No one was stupid enough to do such a thing. "It's coming! Brothers, it's time to kill the boss!" Upon seeing that Lu Dazhong was about to be hammered to death by the evil corpse, the other players immediately went over to help. While the front line was struggling to resist the demon disaster, Marquis Baiyun led the group and charged toward the depths of the desolate ordinary realm. Along the way, all kinds of demon disasters obstructed them. Marquis Baiyun and the 4 divine martial realm consecrators didn't make a move. Those who did make a move were Qin Shujian and the other sect experts in the true domain. They had to deal with the evil demons. Even experts like Marquis Baiyun had to be cautious. Before meeting the evil demon, the slightest wastage of power could lead to failure on the verge of success. However, the evil demons were in the depths of the desolate ordinary realm. Now, this place had become a demon domain, and the demon disaster was everywhere. Therefore, the main role of Qin Shujian and the others was to pave the way. Boom! Qin Shujian stepped on the 5-element 8 trigrams and struck out with the 7-leaf flower-piercing palm, imprinting it on a skeletal knight. The blood chi in his body trembled, and the power that erupted from his palm instantly shattered all the bones in its body. Even though the shackles of the ordinary realm suppressed his strength couldn't exceed the basic realm. However, don't forget, before breaking through to the true martial realm, Qin Shujian had reached the limit of the basic realm, and his blood chi had transformed into a huge dragon. With such strength, it was simply too easy to deal with these demon disasters. In addition, every step that Gui Haichuan took was filled with a piercingly cold saber flare. The soul flames of everything he touched, be it fallen bone demons or skeletal knights. Experts who had comprehended saber intent had a much higher lethality against the demon disasters. In addition, other experts who were already at the peak of the true martial realm had almost reached the limit of the basic realm after entering the desolate, ordinary realm. Thus, dealing with ordinary demon disasters wasn't a problem. Marquis Bayun and the others didn't fly. Instead, they followed the crowd. Buzz! Buzz! The ground shook slightly. In the distance, a few huge skeletons that were 40 to 50 feet tall were walking forward quickly. Many dead skeletons were crushed with every step they took. These are evil corpses. They are at the peak of the true martial realm outside the ordinary realm. They are at the peak of the spirit martial realm outside the true domain. Marquis Bayun's expression didn't change as he explained slowly. Upon hearing this, many people's expressions changed. Qin Shujian also used his spiritual eye to check the attributes of the evil corpse. In the end, he didn't get much information. However, at least the name was the same as what Marquis Bayun said. At this moment, there were already evil corpses approaching. The great elder of the Gold Sun sect, Yan Shongning, took the lead. When he blasted out his palm, his genuine qi turned into flames and an illusory flame palm print suddenly fell on the evil corpse. Boom! The flames exploded. The evil corpse's huge body took 2 steps back and there were more burn marks on its skeleton. However, that was all there was to it. After retreating, the evil corpse steadied itself and continued to move forward. Then, it punched toward the crowd. Yang Zhongning's expression changed, but he didn't retreat. Instead, he met the attack with his palm. Bang! The fist that was the size of a millstone was directly blocked by Yang Zhongning's one hand. The ground under his feet cracked, but he didn't seem to be unable to bear it. Then, he let out a light shout, and a bright light shot out from his eyes. There seemed to be a powerful force awakening in his body, and he instantly shook off the evil corpse. At this moment, other evil corpses attacked. Not everyone was like Yang Zhongning. When they were attacked by the evil corpses, some people didn't pay attention and were directly hit by a punch and coughed up blood. Looking at the incoming evil corpse, Qin Shujian didn't move. The 1,000-mountain blood behind him was already unsheathed. The cold saber light seemed to be able to dispel the darkness caused by the demonic qi. Soon after, he saw a hand holding on to the hilt of the saber and slashing down at the evil corpse. Whoosh! The saber blade swept past and broke the bones. The evil corpse's fist was broken. The sharpness of a low-grade spiritual weapon was far from what these things could resist. After chopping off the evil corpse's fist, Qin Shujian stepped on the 5 elements and 8 trigrams. His movement technique flashed like a ghost. Every step he took was like a slash of a blade. The cold blade light interweaved together and completely swallowed the evil corpse. When the saber light disappeared, the huge evil corpse scattered on the ground like broken pieces. Seeing this scene, many people were inwardly shocked. They only knew how powerful the evil corpses were after fighting with them. Qin Shujian was able to easily kill the evil corpse with his overwhelming strength. This kind of strength made people have no choice but to raise their eyebrows. But soon, some people remembered. The other party was a dignified domain lord, an existence who had broken the limit of a domain. Such a person, in the ordinary realm, his strength would be even more terrifying. Let's end this quickly. This Marquis has already sensed the aura of the evil spirit. Marquis Bayun's voice came. The people who were fighting the enemy were shocked. They no longer hid any trump cards and erupted with all their strength. Immediately, a large area of the demonic disaster was cleared. As for the few evil corpses, they were cleaned up by Qin Shujian, Gui Haichuan, and the others. Then, the group of people rushed in the direction that Marquis Bayun pointed. Along the way, they erupted with their strength and eliminated any demonic disaster that blocked their way. As they went deeper and deeper, the demonic qi in the surroundings became even more terrifying. If an ordinary cultivator stayed here for a long time, even if they weren't killed by the demonic disaster, they would be infected by the demonic qi and naturally become a member of the demonic disaster. This was the terrifying part of the demonic qi. Stepping on the already black ground, Marquis Bayun's expression turned cold. This place that had been corroded by the demonic chi was already a dangerous place. Without hundreds or thousands of years, there was no possibility of recovery. To be more serious, the entire desolate real domain was completely destroyed. For Marquis Bayun, the entire Bayun mansion was considered his territory. Now that he had lost an ordinary realm, his expression naturally wouldn't be good. On the other side, while killing the demonic disaster, Qin Shujian also took the time to look at his attributes. He found that his life source had reached the point where it could be upgraded. Just as he was about to upgrade, however, he suddenly stopped his thoughts. Because Qin Shujian suddenly remembered. This was the ordinary realm. There were shackles of the ordinary realm. If he broke through here, it would be a big problem if he attracted the wrath of heaven. So, he could only suppress the thoughts in his heart, and use his life source on the Wisdom King Prison Shattering Saber. 10,000 points of life source were consumed. The Wisdom King Prison Shattering Saber directly rose from the peak to the level of unity of heaven and man. Chapter 160. The Desolate Void City. It used to be the main city of the desolate ordinary realm, and it used to have a population of more than 100,000. But now, looking at the dilapidated city wall, the blood had already solidified on it. The city gate was already wide open, and the extremely dense demonic chi was hovering above the city. It had reached a point where it was almost solid. "Let me do it!" Marquis Bayun's calm voice rang out, and the other people who were dealing with the demon disaster paused slightly. Marquis Bayun took a step forward. An invisible wave spread out from under his feet. As the slight wave swept out, all the skeletons that touched it had their soul flames extinguished. He took 2 steps forward. The demonic chi retreated, and the city wall of the desolate void city that had existed for hundreds of years seemed to have suffered an invisible attack and suddenly collapsed. At this moment, in everyone's eyes, Marquis Bayun seemed to have completely transformed into a terrifying existence. His originally elegant and gentle face had become cold, and his pair of dark eyes seemed to be like the power of heaven, making people not dare to look into his eyes. He took 3 steps forward. An invisible wave spread out. The city collapsed with a loud bang, and many demon disasters that didn't have time to rush out were all annihilated. Boom! Several terrifying auras erupted in the city. In Qin Shijian's eyes, he saw 3 terrifying figures appear, one with 6 arms, one with a human body and a snake head, and one with a body that was dozens of feet tall and covered in black scales. His spiritual eye flashed. All the information of the 3 appeared in his eyes. The 6-armed one was called Fallen Evil Lord. The one with a human body and a snake head was called Gai Shui Evil Lord. The last one was called 9th Mountain Evil Lord. Other than that, no additional information was revealed. "Who dares to spy on us?" 9th Mountain Evil Lord was furious, and his voice shook the air slightly. Then, his gaze fell on Marquis Bayun, and he said in a deep voice, "The 9 steps to immortality. Are you from the Shao family of the Bayun mansion?" As soon as he finished speaking, 9th Mountain Evil Lord asked again, "Where is that old man Shao Yutian? Impudent! A mere demon dares to disrespect the Marquis." Before Marquis Bayun spoke, the consecrator standing behind him had already shouted angrily. The leader of the 9th Mountain coldly glanced at him and said disdainfully, "You're just a cultivator of the god Chi layer. If we were in a big region, I would be able to kill you with one hand. How dare you act so arrogantly here?" At this moment, Gui Haichuan and the others remained silent. The main force in dealing with the demons was Marquis Bayun and the others. Their mission was to pave the way. Now, the evil demon had appeared. Moreover, with the appearance of the evil demon, the surrounding devil calamity did not dare to recklessly approach, so there was nothing for them to do. Qin Shujian also stood aside. When the spiritual eye had swept over, the 9 Mountain Evil Lord and the other evil demons had obviously noticed the spiritual eye's prying. It was just that they did not know where it came from. In order not to expose himself, he didn't use his spiritual eye to look again. The main reason was that he couldn't see anything even if he looked at it. Therefore, he might as well not look at it. Marquis Bayun ignored the Ninth Mountain Demon Lord's words and didn't even flare up. He said indifferently, "Leave the Ninth Mountain Demon Lord to me. Zhan Hailong and Li Guang'an, you guys deal with the fallen Demon Lord. Shendeis Han and Su Mingyang, you guys deal with the Blooming Water Demon Lord." Understood. After receiving the order, the four of them charged towards the two demons, experts of the divine martial realm. Even if they were suppressed by the ordinary realm, they were still not ordinary 10th stage basic realm experts. They were comparable to the peak of the basic realm. A mere divine martial realm expert dares to attack us. The Blooming Water Demon Lord Snakehead spoke in human language, and his words were full of disdain for the Marquis Bayun's consecrator. But even so, when the attack was about to hit him, he still treated it with caution. After all, in the ordinary realm, no one was more noble than anyone else. The Blooming Water Demon Lord's sharp claws stretched out, and a terrifying demonic aura instantly burst out, as if converging into an illusory river, wanting to completely drown the two of them. Shendeis Han, one of the consecrators, shouted. Golden light flashed in his palm and directly cut into the demonic aura. Immediately after, a powerful wave burst out and a large amount of demonic aura was instantly dispersed. On the other side, the other two consecrators were also fighting with the fallen demon lord. As for Marquis Bayun, he finally took the fourth step. Boom! The surrounding air suddenly condensed. The expression of the Ninth Mountain Demon Lord, who was standing in front, changed greatly. At this moment, his tall body seemed to be under heavy pressure, and the ground under his feet began to crack. The 9 steps of immortal ascension. I'd like to see how many steps you can take. As he spoke, the demonic aura in the sky surged. The Ninth Mountain Demon Lord's arms shook and he was about to respond. Boom! Marquis Bayun took the 5th step. Bang! The Ninth Mountain Demon Lord's knees fell heavily on the ground. The scales on his tall body seemed to be faintly showing signs of breaking. At the same time, Marquis Bayun's cold face also changed. He took the 5th step. It was also uncomfortable for him. If he was in the ordinary realm, it would not be difficult for him to take the 5th step with his cultivation. However, under the shackles of the ordinary realm, the difficulty of using the 9 steps of immortal ascension increased exponentially. However, Marquis Bayun's eyes were cold and he had no intention of stopping. He took another step. His elegant face suddenly turned pale and there seemed to be a faint trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. However, at the same time, the Ninth Mountain Demon Lord's scales were broken and he spat out blood. He tried to raise his arms with all his might, but he could not. He looked at Marquis Bayun with a ferocious and murderous gaze. He took another step. Marquis Bayun gulped and his body was somewhat unstable. At the same time, the Ninth Mountain Demon Lord seemed to have encountered a terrifying attack. All the scales on his body were broken and dark green blood soaked his body. Even his arrogant head had to be lowered. However, he still spoke ferociously. In your current state, taking the 7th step is already your limit. If you want to kill me with the 9 steps of immortal ascension, even Xiao Yutian could not do it. Marquis Bayun still did not reply. He raised his left foot slightly. The Ninth Mountain Demon Lord's entire body was prostrated on the ground, but his head was unwilling to lower completely. However, Marquis Bayun could not take the 8th step no matter what. Just when the Ninth Mountain Demon Lord thought that his opponent could not hold on any more, boom! Qin Shijian suddenly exploded, and the body of a dragon appeared on his back. He held the blood of the 1,000 mountains with both hands. At this moment, it was as if he had turned into a supreme wisdom king. A fury that could destroy the 9 serenities hell surged in his heart. Whoosh! There seemed to be flames rising on the long saber. This was the Wisdom King's karmic fire, which could burn all the sins in the world. This saber. This was it. Wisdom King's prison breaker. The long saber directly slashed the ninth mountain demon lord's head. The engraved patterns on the saber shone inconspicuously, and the terrifying power was instantly released perfectly. Bang! The ninth mountain demon lord's head fell to the ground, and dark green blood spurted out like a fountain. You've killed the demon! You've received 10 luck points! When Qin Shujian put away the saber, he had already received the system notification in his mind. He could not help but let out a long sigh of relief. As for the others, they were all stunned on the spot. This sudden turn of events was completely out of their expectations. Even Marquis Baiyun had a trace of astonishment in his eyes. He did not expect that Qin Shujian would suddenly rush out at this critical moment and directly kill the ninth mountain demon lord with one saber strike. When Marquis Baiyun's gaze fell on the 1,000 mountain blood, he finally understood. Spiritual weapon! In terms of spiritual weapon, it naturally could not hurt a demon at its peak. However, the ninth mountain demon lord was in the ordinary realm and was severely injured by the 9 steps of immortality. Its hard scales were shattered. Under such circumstances, it was not impossible for the demon lord to be killed in one fell swoop with the help of a spiritual weapon and the dragon of qi and blood. Seeing the ninth mountain demon lord's body melt and leave behind a pile of black powder, the others finally reacted. Corroding element bone powder. It was the corroding element bone powder that was left behind after the demon died. On the other side, the fallen demon lord and the Gui Shui demon lord's eyes were now filled with shock. He had died. The ninth mountain demon lord, who was the strongest among them, had died. Although both of them knew how terrifying the 9 steps of immortality was, they did not expect the ninth mountain demon lord to die so easily and quickly. After the shock, monstrous anger filled the sky. The Gui Shui demon lord's snake-headed human body suddenly transformed into a huge black snake that was dozens of feet long. The snake spat out a terrifying venom that even made a sizzling sound in the air. Qin Deis Han and Su Mingyang's expressions changed and they immediately dodged the venom. The venom fell on the ground and immediately corroded a large hole in the ground. On the other side, the fallen evil lord also burst forth with a terrifying strength as 2 lumps of flesh grew out from his back. Immediately after, the lumps of flesh burst apart to reveal 2 gigantic skeletal wings. As the bone wings flapped, a gust of wind swept out like a sharp blade. At the same time, Lu Bai released a powerful attack and charged toward Zhang Hailong and Li Guang'an. You guys go and deal with the Gui Shui demon lord. Leave him to me. The blood flowing from the corner of Marquis North Cloud's mouth had disappeared. He raised his hand and released a terrifying attack. His genuine qi formed a long black saber and slashed toward the fallen demon lord. Dark sky of great underworld! Seeing this, the fallen demon lord's face turned serious. His bone wings flapped and his body turned into multiple shadows, dodging the saber. Boom! The long black saber slashed down and left a deep gully in the ground. Marquis North Cloud leaned back without warning and a piece of white bone flashed in front of his eyes. Then, he raised his hand and released a terrifying attack that transformed into dozens of saber blades that spread out in all directions. Rumble! The 2 exchanged blows at an extremely fast speed and each blow contained great power. Yan Zhongning and the others looked extremely solemn. In the ordinary realm, everyone was in the martial realm stage 10. But from Marquis North Cloud and the fallen demon lord, they didn't feel that they were in the same realm. No matter who it was, the aura emitted from their bodies was not something they could contend with. After killing the ninth mountain demon lord with one slash, Qin Shujian also stood on the spot and calmed his restless qi and blood. When he saw the fight between Marquis North Cloud and the fallen demon lord and the 4 god martial realm experts besieging the Gui Shui demon lord, he looked at the remaining life source and tapped on the 5 elements 8 trigram steps with his mind. Buzz! The 5 elements 8 trigram steps, which was already in the unity of heaven and man level, finally ushered in a new transformation. Chapter 161. Gui Shui Evil Lord transformed into a giant snake. With a light flick of his tail, he could easily flatten a small hill or smash a large stone several feet high. Such a terrifying attack made the other's eyelids twitch. Basic Realm. How could this be the attack of a Basic Realm warrior? Even a warrior in the real martial arts realm who hadn't reached the internal aura realm would find it difficult to do this. No! Looking at the giant snake body of Gui Shui Evil Lord, some people overturned their thoughts. Even a warrior in the internal aura realm could at most reach this level of attack. But in terms of area destruction, it was still far inferior. The 4 warriors in the god martial arts realm of the Baiyun Marquis Mansion were also under great pressure. The snake's scales were extremely hard and could withstand most of the attacks. Boom! Boom! The 4 of them wandered around, constantly wearing down the power of Gui Shui Evil Lord, but the effect was minimal. Die! The snake spoke in human language. The gravity around Gui Shui Evil Lord suddenly expanded, making the 4 people's dodging movements slightly stagnant. Then the giant snake tail whipped over. Zhang Hailong raised his hands and supported his genuine qi, trying to block the attack. However, the moment the two collided, he directly flew out, vomiting blood in the air. His arms were broken. At this time, with the death of Gui Shui Evil Lord, the devil disaster that didn't dare to approach seemed to be rioting. They rushed to the rest of the people like a tide. Stop them! As soon as Marquis Baiyun's voice came out, the others had already begun to act. Everyone knew. Now the main thing was to deal with the remaining 2 demons. Or else, it would be a big trouble. On the other side, Qin Shujian also woke up from the state of enlightenment. The others thought that the slash just now exhausted the opponent's strength, so he couldn't move for the time being. When he looked at the attribute panel again, the words, "Oneness of Heaven and Man," in the 5 elements 8 trigram steps had transformed to the level of entering Tao. The original words, "Mortal level lower grade," also disappeared. Entering Tao. Qin Shujian had a kind of enlightenment. If the Black Tiger Saber technique reached the level of entering Tao, it allowed him to comprehend saber intent. Then the 5 elements 8 trigram steps reached the level of entering Tao, it allowed him to have a deeper understanding of Tao. Now in Qin Shujian's eyes, although nothing had changed in front of him, if he used his senses to search, he would be able to discover that there were nodes in the empty air. It was illusory. It was so real again. Shortly after, they saw Qin Shujian taking a step forward, already stepping on the air under his feet slightly rippled, a small 8 trigrams diagram looming in it. Immediately, his figure disappeared from the place, and in a flash, appeared behind the Gui Shui Evil Lord. He was only at the 7th level of the true martial realm. Even in the ordinary realm, he had not reached the limit of the basic realm. Under the joint attack of the fallen bone demon and the evil corpse. In the end, he was careless. His throat was pierced by a skeleton knight's spear. Before the sect master of the Cloud Mist sect died, his eyes were still filled with fear and disbelief. It seemed that he had not expected to die so easily here. But soon, his pair of desperate eyes were replaced by the soul fire. The dead revived again. Once this kind of physical invulnerability expert was turned into a member of the demon disaster, under the influence of the demon chi, his strength approached the limit of the martial realm. The death of the sect master of the Cloud Mist sect. It seemed to be the beginning of something. Then, another person died tragically in the hands of the demon disaster, and became a member of it. After all, it had been more than half a day since they entered the desolate ordinary realm. Under the situation of true essence being suppressed, some people were already feeling exhausted by relying only on their qi, blood, and true qi. This was the horror of the demon disaster. No matter how powerful you were or how amazing your methods were, as long as you were trapped in the endless demon disaster, you would sooner or later run out of energy. Once you ran out of energy, in this situation, it meant death. Can we still hold on? Damn it, we have to hold on even if we can't. In the player camp, the situation was not good either. As the number of demon disasters did not decrease, and there were also terrifying monsters like the evil corpse boss and the fallen bone demon, almost all the players had been revived. But all the players had died once, but their strength did not decrease by much. The experience points given by the demon disaster were not much, but there were too many of them. Soaking in the sea of monsters and being able to kill effectively, the experience points of the cultivation techniques were increasing rapidly. Until now, all the players had at least reached martial arts level 9, and some had even returned to martial arts level 10. With the opening of the book collection pavilion, although outer sect disciples could not learn the complete Yuan Dian basic martial arts manual, they could enter the book collection pavilion and learn other basic martial arts manual techniques. Even if the increase was not as good as Yuan Dian, it could still increase the realm. It was not a big deal. When they were promoted to inner sect disciples, they could abolish the original cultivation techniques and switch to Yuan Dian. Looking at his mission, the number of demon disasters killed had reached more than 300. Lu Daozhong suddenly felt like he had become rich overnight. He believed that if he submitted the mission with this completion rate, he would definitely get a lot of contribution points. This was not a loss. A huge profit. This was his thought, and it was also the thought of the other players. So until now, even if the players who died went back to revive, they would still rush over. It could not be helped. The number of demon disasters and the reward of a large-scale mission were too tempting. But the players were optimistic, but it did not mean that everyone was as optimistic. The people of the other sects who died in the hands of the demon disasters did not have the ability to revive. They were really dead. The battle had been going on for more than half a day. Some of the sect's disciples had been completely wiped out, and were completely swallowed by the demon disasters. Apart from them, almost all the sects had suffered losses. Hold on, we will definitely be able to leave this place alive. Lin Daozhun extinguished the soul fire of a dead skeleton with a swing of his sword. Looking at the casualties of more than half of his fellow disciples, he forced himself to raise the morale. But there was sadness and undetectable resentment in his eyes. This time, the sect sent them to fight against the demon disasters, but they did not allow the direct disciples to participate. Only the inner sect disciples and outer sect disciples were allowed to participate. What was the meaning of this? How could Lin Daozhun not understand? The demon disasters could be arranged. Let alone 1,000 people, even 10,000 or 100,000 people would only be wiped out by the tide of demon disasters. The sect knew that this was a mission with no chance of survival, but still sent them here. So, from the beginning, they had been abandoned. From the beginning to the end, they were pitiful chess pieces. Or rather, they were not even chess pieces. They were just cannon fodder that could be casually discarded. He gazed at the boundless devil disaster. Lin Daozhun could not remember how many skeletons had died in his hands. The number of fellow disciples around him had gone from 1,000 to less than 300. More than that. They had all died in the hands of the demon disasters and became one of them. He had even forgotten how many fellow disciples had died in his hands and had been demonized. Maybe 10. Or maybe 100. Looking at the fellow disciples who were still dying around him. Gradually, Lin Daozhun's heart also cooled down. Only the sword in his hand became sharper and sharper. A sword technique was displayed in his hand, frequently killing the approaching skeletons. The sect wanted him dead. So he wanted to live. Not for anything else, but to see the seniors of the sect face to face and ask why. At the same time, a thought had already taken root in Lin Daozhun's heart. One day, I will no longer be a chess piece in the hands of others. Only I have the right to control my life and death. Kill. Chapter 162. Swish. The huge snake tail swept across. Chindaishan also struck out with his spear, colliding heavily with it. Bang! The two collided, the cold light on the long spear shone brightly. Chindaishan only felt an unstoppable force coming from his hands, making his palm crack, and his whole person flew out. When Chen Daishan flew out, Li Guangnan and Su Mingyang took action separately, attacking Gui Shui Evil Lord. At this time, on the huge body of the Gui Shui Evil Lord, there were many broken scales, and under the mix of dark green blood, his ferocious nature erupted. These injuries, most of them were left by Qin Shujian. Low-grade spiritual weapon could not hurt Gui Shui Evil Lord. What could really hurt Gui Shui Evil Lord was the power of luck attached to the blade. Treasure of luck. There was a trace of heaven and earth Tao in it. This was a huge threat to evil spirits. Just that, Thousand Mountain Blood was a low-grade spiritual weapon after all. If he wanted to cause fatal damage to Gui Shui Evil Lord, he would have to kneel on the ground like Nine Mountain Evil Lord. Otherwise, absolutely impossible. While thinking, Qin Shujian stepped into the air, and his speed reached the limit of what he could achieve at this stage. The Mingwang prison-breaking blade of oneness of heaven and man also broke out a power far beyond the ordinary middle-grade true-rank martial arts. Under the combination of several factors, he became the person who hurt Gui Shui Evil Lord the most. Also, the person Gui Shui Evil Lord hated the most. Sect Master Qin, we will block him from the front. You find an opportunity to attack his weak points. Chen Daishan, who calmed down his qi and blood, now recognized the fact that they, who were in the god martial realm, were really not as good as this physical invulnerability cultivator in the ordinary realm. Okay. Hearing this, Qin Shujian did not refuse. Chen Daishan's eyes focused, his qi and blood surged, the blue veins on his hands holding the long spear protruded, and his face suddenly became ferocious. He struggled to lift the long spear, and broke out a full blow. Wailing in all directions. A spear across the sky, 8 spear shadows fell, comparable to more than 100,000 June of power, heavily bombarding Gui Shui Evil Lord's snake body. Boom! Terrifying gravity. Gui Shui Evil Lord's body suddenly pressed down and fell on the ground. But soon, a snake tail lashed out and bombarded Chen Daishan's body from behind. The power that was strong enough to flatten a hill directly shattered the armor on his body, and he was sent flying like a blade of grass. Shortly after, the Gui Shui Evil Lord's heart skipped a beat, and a sense of threat welled up in his heart. When his bell-like eyes looked over, he just happened to see a little bit of cold light breaking through the air. This made him instinctively want to dodge. However, just as he turned his head, the cold light had already arrived. The scales that were strong enough to withstand the attack of a spirit weapon were no obstacle in front of the cold light. He howled in pain as a small hole appeared on his forehead. Half of the broken arrow was stuck there. There was a Taoist rhyme circulating around the arrow. Even though it was broken in half, it still couldn't conceal its magnificence. Tao artifact! Gui Shui Evil Lord's bell-like voice rang out, mixed with unspeakable pain. In the distance, Li Guanglan lowered the broken bowstring in his hand. Shooting that arrow just now had completely exhausted his qi and blood. Tao artifact. Even if it was an incomplete Tao artifact, it wasn't something that a person whose strength had been suppressed to the basic martial realm could casually play around with. Shooting that arrow. The price he paid was not small. He already had no power to fight again. Chen Daishan's words just now, rather than for Qin Shujian to hear, it was better to say it to the Gui Shui Evil Lord to let the other party focus on Qin Shujian, and then let Li Guanglan shoot the fatal arrow. Regrettably, the perception of the Gui Shui Evil Lord was too strong. He avoided the arrow that should have been shot through his pupils, and the scales on his forehead and skull could be said to be the hardest part of his body. Even if it was an incomplete Tao artifact, there was no way to shoot him dead. Then Qin Shujian saw the opportunity. The mercury-like qi and blood completely broke out. The crystal-like blade of the Thousand Mountain Blood shone brightly. Immediately it was a move of the Ming King's prison-shattering strike, but the target was not the Gui Shui Evil Lord, but the broken arrow on the Gui Shui Evil Lord's head. The Gui Shui Evil Lord was originally attacked by the Tao artifact. Now that he was injured, his reaction was slower than usual. By the time he reacted, he had already seen the long blade slashing out, completely occupying his line of sight. Boom! The long blade struck out. The Dao charm on the broken arrow flourished, and the terrifying force instantly forced it directly into the head of the Gui Shui evil lord. Roar! The Gui Shui evil lord issued a shrill roar, his body crazily twisting on the ground. On the hole in his forehead, dark green mixed with a little white liquid flowed out from the inside. This arrow. It directly pierced into his head, which was a vital point. The huge body crazily twisted on the ground, crushing everything in its path into powder. Even the evil corpses and other dead skeletons that were accidentally affected were all turned into broken bones. Take advantage of his illness. Take his life. Qin Shujian stepped into the air, holding the blade with both hands and heavily chopping down on the head of the Gui Shui evil lord. At this time, the Dao artifact entered the body. The Gui Shui evil lord, who was in a state of confusion, simply had no ability to defend. The long blade entered the flesh, bringing a rain of blood. Then, compared to the huge snake body, this kind of injury was not enough to be fatal. One blade could not kill. Then 2 blades. Qin Shijian did not hesitate. In the blink of an eye, he slashed out dozens of blades, and the wound of each blade was combined with the previous blade. The wound of the Gui Shui evil lord gradually expanded, dark green blood crazily gushing out. When the last blade fell, the entire huge snake head fell from its body and heavily smashed on the ground. You killed the evil demon! You have obtained 10 luck points! Looking at the Gui Shui evil lord who could no longer move, Qin Shijian's mind also appeared the information he wanted to get. Dead? When Li Guanglan and the others saw this, they were all relieved. The 2 evil demons were dead. Then there was only one left. As for Qin Shijian, after killing the Gui Shui evil lord, he stood on the ground motionless. Just now, he had slashed out so many blades without caring about the consumption, which had already made his qi and blood almost exhausted. At this time, the fall of the Gui Shui evil lord was also noticed by the Marquis of Northern Cloud and the fallen evil lord. The 2 evil demons are dead. You no longer have a chance. Marquis Baiyun used the great underworld dark sky to suppress the fallen evil lord, but it was still not easy to kill an evil demon. Hee, it's good that you're dead. You can't be thinking that you can kill me just because you killed those 2 trash, right? The fallen evil lord was not angry. Instead, he laughed. At this moment, his aura changed completely. Facing the black blade, he no longer dodged. Instead, he exploded with a powerful force and collided with it. Listen to my call, the power of the demon realm, return! Along with the roar of the fallen evil lord, all of the power of the demon calamity within the desolate ordinary world was sucked away at an extremely fast speed. After that, the horrifying power gushed out like a long river and gathered towards the fallen evil lord. Rumble! At this moment, not only Li Guanglan and the others, but even Marquis Baiyun's face changed. The fallen evil lord's aura rose steadily. A power that seemed to have been sleeping since ancient times was awakening at this moment. I have to thank you for killing them. This gave me the chance to monopolize the power of the entire demon realm. As thanks, I will let you become a part of the demon realm. The fallen evil lord laughed wildly. The bone wings on his back were so vast that they covered the sky. Thunder rumbled in the sky and purple snakes covered the sky. He wants to break through the shackles by force. All of you, retreat! Marquis Baiyun looked at the terrifying fallen evil lord and calmed down. Now, the demon realm had been completely absorbed. There was no need for the others to stay here. With the fallen evil lord's strength, anyone who stayed would die. Hearing this, Gui Haichuan and the others were the first to retreat. In the battle that the demon realm had wreaked havoc, they had consumed too much power. If the fallen evil lord had not absorbed all the power of the demon realm, they would have been completely submerged by the demon realm in an hour or 2. This was not a matter of pure strength. With such a number, Anyone who came would die. Therefore, they did not hesitate to retreat. Chindeas-han and the others also retreated. However, the reason they retreated was because they had absolute confidence in Marquis Baiyun. As for Qin Shujian, he did not stay behind either. The three demons of the desolate ordinary realm were far more powerful than the undead evil lord. Perhaps it was because the three demons had recovered their strength. If he fought alone, it would be difficult for him to win. Not to mention, now, the fallen evil lord had made such a big move. Even Qin Shujian found it hard to imagine how powerful the devil calamity would be if it encompassed an entire ordinary realm. Although he did not know what Marquis Baiyun's trump card, this was no longer a matter that a basic realm or physical invulnerability realm cultivator could participate in. In the ruins of broken bones, a person was covered in blood. He was holding a long sword and killing mechanically. When he found that there was no more demon realm around him, he suddenly woke up. I survived! Lin Daozhen's eyes were filled with disbelief. When he turned around, there was no one standing behind him. Dead? They were all dead. He was the only one who survived. Ha ha! Lin Daozhen suddenly raised his head and laughed. Tears mixed with blood flowed down his cheeks, but he did not feel anything. He had survived. It was good that he had survived. He had been prepared to die, but the heavens had given him a chance to live. The scene of surviving a disaster. It was not only here. It was also in other places. However, after a short moment of surprise, a mighty aura swept through the depths of the desolate ordinary realm. It was extremely evil and demonic. Everyone woke up and looked at the demonic aura in the sky above the desolate ordinary realm. They all retreated in the direction of the Lingxi True Realm. The demon realm had retreated. Their mission had been completed. Whatever happened in the desolate ordinary realm had nothing to do with them. F***CK, could it be some big boss? Lu Dazhong blurted out. Then, he said eagerly, should we go and take a look? After he said that, he realized that everyone around him was looking at him like he was an idiot. Even Miao Yuqing rolled her eyes helplessly. Wang Jiao turned around and left. Go and take a look? Just that aura alone was enough to make one's heart tremble. If it was really a big boss, they would not be able to do anything other than die and gain experience. Even if the players were brave enough to take the risk, they had to compare the difference in strength between the two sides. According to the others' estimation, the boss that emitted this aura was definitely the evil spirit that created the demon realm. Just now, when all the demon realm's power was sucked away and turned into bones, they could already guess a lot of things. If they were not wrong, the evil spirit must have used some method to absorb all the demon realm's power. When they thought of the boundless demon realm's power gathering together, all the players shuddered. Such a boss. It could probably crush them to death with just a flick of its finger. It was not easy to level up. Anyway, they had already gained enough. There was no need to take the risk. It was not worth it to lose a level just to take a look. Everyone. When Lu Dazhong said that, no one paid attention to him. They all turned around and left silently. Such a retard. It was better to stay away. They were afraid that if they got too close, they would be infected. Chapter 163. Lightning struck down from the sky. It seemed to want to destroy the evil spirit. Then, a monstrous demonic aura rose up and dispersed the lightning. The fallen evil lord's aura had changed greatly. In his pair of black eyes, there seemed to be endless souls struggling and wailing. Just a simple look could make people fall into it. If they didn't die, I wouldn't have the chance to take the entire demon domain's power. Now that the entire demon domain's power is gathered on me, even if Xiao Yutian came, he would only die. The fallen evil lord didn't attack immediately. Instead, his aura rose steadily as he looked at Marquis Baiyun with a mocking expression. At this moment, the demonic aura was extremely dense. It had completely turned this place into a demon domain. Even if this demon domain was only equivalent to the desolate void ordinary realm, it was only equivalent to one of the realms. However, in the demon domain, one could temporarily abandon the shackles of heaven and earth. It also meant that, here, the so-called shackles no longer existed. The fallen evil lord's aura rose steadily. True martial. Spiritual martial. Divine martial. Peak divine martial. Boom! In the end, he broke into a mysterious realm. Ha ha! My power has returned. From today onwards, the world will be a demon domain! The fallen evil lord laughed wildly. His aura was as vast as the abyss. All of this. Marquis Bayun saw it all. He took a step into the air and no longer restrained his aura. A terrifying power was brewing in his palm. You're just a defeated general. How dare you speak so boldly in front of me? Dark sky of great underworld. Boom! Thousands of black blades exploded and swept towards the fallen evil lord like a gale. The fallen evil lord was in the middle of the demonic aura hurricane. Seeing the black blades explode, he opened his mouth and sucked. The hurricane formed by the demonic aura was swallowed into his body. His 6 arms suddenly struck out and shattered the black blades. Then, his bone wings flapped and a terrifying invisible wind split the air. Then, the fallen evil lord disappeared and appeared behind Marquis Bayun in the next moment. 6 arms and 6 fists. Every punch seemed to be able to destroy a mountain. Marquis Bayun seemed to have sensed it. He casually moved and a layer of dark green energy appeared in front of him, blocking the fallen evil lord's attack. Then, a dark sky of great underworld was unleashed. A terrifying attack instantly. Boom! Boom! Although the two of them were fighting in the demon city, their auras had spread throughout the entire desolate ordinary realm. Although the devil disaster had disappeared. However, only a few people actually retreated. Most of them. They all stopped at the border between the Lingxi True Domain and the desolate void ordinary domain to watch. After all, Marquis Bayun hadn't come out yet. He was fighting the last evil spirit. If Marquis Bayun won, then everything would be over. If Marquis Bayun was defeated, it would be a calamity that would engulf the entire Bayun Manor. Qin Shujian sensed the aura that leaked out, and his mind was slightly agitated. This is the power of a top-notch expert. How fascinating! A moment later, he looked at his own attributes, and unknowingly, his life force had increased to 80,000 points. There was no hesitation. It directly consumed 50,000 life force points. His aura fluctuated, and the true origin in his dantian suddenly increased. Invisible shackles had already descended on his body. This is the true Dominion's shackles! Qin Shujian looked up. With his spirit eye, he could only see a huge net formed by black threads that covered the entire sky of the Lingxi True Domain. The shackles shouldn't be easily seen by others. They would only appear when they were about to be broken. However, he could see them directly with his spirit eye. However, Qin Shujian had no intention of breaking the shackles now. If it was really that easy, the Lingxi True Domain wouldn't still be a true domain. After all, peak true martial experts were rare, but there were basically some in every true domain. With the breakthrough of Yuan Dian, his physical body had also undergone some subtle changes. When he looked at Yuan Dian's attributes again, they had changed. 20th level of Yuan Dian, superior grade true rank level 25 longevity extension, level 1 indestructible Vajra, level 5 astro-penetrating quintessential essence, level 4 physical invulnerability. His indestructible body had transformed to level 1 indestructible Vajra. Qin Shujian looked at his skin, which didn't change much on the surface. However, he could feel that his physical body had already transformed. Under the nourishment of his powerful quintessential essence, his mercury-like blood qi emitted a buzzing sound that sounded like the roars of beasts. However, there were no changes when he listened carefully. Immediately, Qin Shujian's gaze landed on another cultivation technique. Now that Yuan Dian had reached the limit of the true dominion, there was no need to save his life force source. With a thought, 28,000 points of life force source were gone. What replaced it was the 15th level of the Origin Ocean Returning Technique. 15th level of the Origin Ocean Returning Technique, middle grade true rank level 5 as usual. It only had one attribute. However, it had expanded the quintessential essence capacity of his Dantian by 50%. Qin Shujian's eyes shone brightly as his heart pounded wildly. Indeed, every level of the Origin Ocean Returning Technique increases my quintessential essence capacity by 10%. If I can fully deduce the true martial chapter, I will have twice the quintessential essence capacity of an ordinary person. His quintessential essence capacity had increased. This meant that his tolerance limit had also increased. Just as Qin Shujian was silently consuming his life force source, the battle in the Demon Protectorate was intense. The fallen evil lord, who had completely recovered to his peak state, had thought that he could easily take down the person in front of him, swallow him, and turn him into his own strength. In the end, the truth was often beyond one's expectations. Not only was Marquis Baiyun very powerful, but he was so powerful that even the fallen evil lord was shocked. The god conduit martial art, the dark heaven of the underworld, had reached perfection in his hands. It had reached a terrifying level. You deserve to die for causing trouble in the North Cloud Manor. Marquis Baiyun's eyes were cold as he used the dark heaven of the underworld to attack his opponent, causing him to retreat continuously. Then, he took a step forward and used the 9 steps of immortal ascension again. The 9 steps of immortal ascension was like ascending to heaven with each step. When his cultivation level had been suppressed, Marquis Baiyun had still been able to forcefully take 7 steps. Now that his cultivation level was no longer suppressed, it was even easier to use the 9 steps of immortal ascension. In an instant, he had taken 7 steps. A terrifying power erupted instantly and engulfed heaven and earth like a wild dragon. The ground below could not withstand it and cracked. The fallen evil lord faced the 9 steps of immortal ascension head-on, and the fiend chi all over his body collapsed. His body, which was flying in the air, was directly suppressed. Rumble! His body crashed onto the ground, causing the earth and mountains to shake instantly. Impossible! How can you be so powerful? The fallen evil lord, who had been suppressed, was completely crazy. He had encountered the 9 steps of immortal ascension before. He had been suppressed by the 9 steps of immortal ascension. But back then, the person who had suppressed him had used his lifespan and blood essence as the price to forcefully take the 9th step. But now, Marquis Baiyun had only taken 7 steps and he had been suppressed. The fallen evil lord could not accept such a comparison. Back then, the previous Marquis Baiyun, Xiao Yutian, suppressed you. Today, the current Marquis Baiyun, Xiao Qinfeng, will kill you. Marquis Baiyun's posture was arrogant, and he took another step forward like a god. A Tao lotus suddenly bloomed under his feet and thousands of Taoist rhymes spread out. Bang! Bang! The fallen evil lord's bone wings were broken. His body seemed to be unable to withstand such an attack and instantly cracked. Dark green blood gushed out like a fountain. You can't kill me. I will revive in the demon abyss. When I walk out of the demon abyss, I will make your people suffer. The fallen evil lord roared hysterically. Marquis Baiyun's expression was indifferent as he said calmly, If you want to make Marquis Baiyun suffer, it will depend on whether you have the chance to return to the demon abyss. As he spoke, he stretched out his hand and a blood-stained stone spear appeared in his hand. The moment the blood-stained stone spear appeared, the fallen evil lord's expression finally changed and he shouted in fear. Zhu Bing, you actually have Zhu Bing! Evil lords were very difficult to kill. The reason was that even if they were killed, they would revive in the demon abyss. This was something that only a few people knew. Therefore, anyone who defeated an evil lord would not choose to kill them in order to prevent them from reviving in the demon abyss. Instead, they would seal them and imprison them. Over time, the rumor that evil lords were extremely difficult to kill spread. Some people also thought that the evil lord who left behind the yuan corroding bone powder was really dead. This was also the reason why the fallen evil lord had always been fearless. However, this did not mean that evil lords were really immortal. There were not many things that could kill them, but Zhu Bing was one of them. The stone spear in Marquis Baiyun's hand rose. Then, he cupped his hands towards the stone spear and said, "Marquis Baiyun, Zhu Bing, please slay this evil lord." But a blood-curdling sound seemed to come from the stone spear. Then, an aura that suppressed everything erupted. The blood on the stone spear seemed to be the roar of a god. The powerful aura directly suppressed the fallen evil lord's mind and made him tremble. Then, in his horrified eyes, the stone spear directly pierced through his body. The power that belonged to the evil lord seemed to be absorbed by something at this moment. No! The fallen evil lord only had time to let out a terrified scream before he completely disappeared. Only a pile of yuan-corroding bone powder was left on the ground. The stone spear turned around and returned to Marquis Baiyun's hand. "Farewell, Zhu Bing!" Then, the stone spear disappeared from Marquis Baiyun's hand. In the sky, as the last evil lord fell, the demonic aura finally lost its foundation. This demonic realm suddenly collapsed. A pressure from heaven and earth descended once again. Marquis Baiyun glanced at the desolate ordinary realm that was already a dead end, then turned around and left. On the other side, the people who stopped at the border first felt a terrifying wave of energy coming over, then it completely disappeared without a trace. Qin Shujian looked with his spirit eye. He happened to see the scene of the dense demonic aura collapsing. He understood in his heart. The winner should be Marquis Baiyun. As for the evil lord, he had already been defeated. At this moment, the others also noticed that the evil aura had disappeared. When they saw the demonic aura that covered the sky and the desolate ordinary realm gradually dissipating, they also felt relieved. Marquis Baiyun. He won! Chapter 164. Marquis Baiyun's Mansion. Everyone was seated in the banquet hall. Compared to the previous overcrowding, the number of people in the banquet hall had decreased by half. As for where the other half went, there was no need to think about it. It's all thanks to everyone's help that we were able to exterminate the demons so quickly. Here's a toast to all of you. The Marquis of the Northern Cloud raised his glass and laughed heartily. Marquis, you're too polite. It's what we should do. Everyone raised their glasses to greet him. After putting down his glass, Marquis Baiyun said, "In the fight against the demons, all the sects suffered losses, and some physical invulnerability cultivators died. Since you all contributed to Baiyun Mansion, I won't let you suffer any losses. Baiyun Mansion will compensate the sects with casualties according to the ratio of the casualties. Sects with dead physical invulnerability cultivators will give 3 Gangchi pills. Marquis, you're so righteous." Everyone responded again. But some people sneered in their hearts. Gangchi pills. To put it bluntly, it was to help others speed up the comprehension of Gangchi. If they were lucky, 3 Gangchi pills could help 3 martial realm level 3 martial realm cultivators to break through to level 4 martial realm. If they were unlucky, it was possible that 3 aura chi pills would only be enough for 1 inner energy realm cultivator, or perhaps not even 1. As for martial realm cultivators breaking through to physical invulnerability, Gangchi pills were even more useless. Losing a physical invulnerability cultivator to get 3 Gangchi pills was a loss no matter how you looked at it. However, everyone present didn't feel much. Because the sects with dead physical invulnerability cultivators were no longer in the banquet hall. None of the sects present had lost any physical invulnerability cultivators. So, whether Marquis Baiyun gave out Gangchi pills or something else, it didn't matter much to them. They cared more about. This was the promise Marquis Baiyun had made. Qin Shujian was sitting in the corner of the banquet hall. He didn't show any reaction to other people's words. Now his attention was on the 20 luck points. If he used all 20 luck points on Thousand Mountain Blood, would it be able to upgrade it to a higher level than a spiritual weapon? Or could it upgrade Yuan's sect to a level 4 force? Anyway, Qin Shujian's mind was no longer in the banquet hall. If it weren't for the fact that he was worried that the Thousand Mountain blood would cause unnecessary disturbances, he would have started to upgrade himself long ago. This trip to the Devil Disaster. Yuan Zone was basically profiting from this. Not a single player had died, and the main thing was that they couldn't die. Instead, they had harvested a large amount of life force for him. After a rough calculation, there were at least 100,000 of them. More importantly, out of the 3 evil spirits, 2 of them were killed by him. He had obtained 20 luck points. This was the most important gain. Just as Qin Shujian was indulging in his thoughts, Marquis Baiyun spoke again. I have promised that any sect that helps this time will be given a place to enter the newly derived ordinary realm. His voice wasn't loud, but it roused everyone's spirits. Here it comes. This was the real highlight of the show. Even Qin Shujian stopped thinking and looked at Marquis Baiyun. Marquis Baiyun said, The name of the new ordinary realm is the Mountain Ring Ordinary Realm. It is located at the border of the Beichuan territory. 7 days later, I will open the teleportation gate in the ancient city. I hope that everyone can be there on time. If you don't arrive on time, it will be regarded as giving up this place. We understand. Also, Marquis Baiyun changed the topic and his gaze fell on Qin Shujian. This time, Sect Master Qin of the Dimensional Sect killed 2 evil spirits in a row. You are indeed worthy of the title of Domain Master. Sect Master Qin has contributed greatly to the success of killing the evil spirits this time. Hearing this, the others also shifted their gazes to Qin Shujian. To be honest, no one present dared to underestimate the strength that the other party had displayed in the ordinary realm. Seeing this, Qin Shujian had no choice but to stand up. He cupped his hands and said, Since I have promised Marquis Baiyun, I will do my best. If Marquis Baiyun and the 4 consecrators hadn't severely injured the evil spirits, I wouldn't have had the chance to kill them. Speaking of which, I was just lucky. I don't dare to claim credit for myself. Sect Master Qin is young, but you are already a domain master. You are also very talented and have already reached the physical invulnerability realm. With such achievements, you are still able to be neither arrogant nor impatient. You are worthy of the title of Heavenly Son. Marquis Baiyun showed a trace of appreciation in his eyes and said with a smile, But merit is merit, and fault is fault. I still distinguish between merit and fault. This time, Sect Master Qin killed 2 evil demons, so this Marquis will bestow upon you a spirit-grade cultivation technique and a deity-grade martial art. Finally, considering that the Origin sect has just been established, I will also bestow upon you 10 truth-grade martial arts. What do you think of this reward? Boom! Before Qin Shujian could reply, Marquis Baiyun's words caused a great uproar. Spiritual level martial art! Divine level martial art! 10 upper true level martial arts! Especially the spiritual level martial art. Among the sects present, except for a few, no other sects had it. Even if they had money, they might not be able to buy it. It was something that could only be found by chance. Not to mention divine level martial arts. These 2 spiritual level martial arts were enough to establish a sect's foundation. With these 2 items, the Origin sect would most likely become a large sect in the True Dominion in a few decades. The 10 upper true level martial arts were also enough to make people envious. After all, the martial art that Marquis Baiyun had bestowed was definitely a unique one. Thank you, Marquis! Qin Shujian was shocked as well. He immediately cupped his hands and thanked him. It had to be said, the Marquis Baiyun's reward happened to be what the Dimensional Sect needed. With such a batch of spiritual level martial arts in the library, the Dimensional Sect would truly have the grandeur that a large sect should have. Other things aside, it would definitely be 100% appropriate if it was used to trick players into working hard. As for whether this reward would attract covetous eyes, Qin Shujian chuckled silently. This was a reward from Marquis Baiyun. No one would have the guts to covet it. Given his current strength, he could not wait for someone to snatch it from him. This way, he would have an excuse to attack the other sections. Subsequently, the atmosphere of the banquet was very harmonious. After 3 rounds of drinks, it was almost time for the banquet. Everyone stood up and took their leave. Only Qin Shujian was asked to stay by Marquis Baiyun. In the pavilion in the back garden of the mansion, Marquis Baiyun and Qin Shujian were sitting opposite each other. Right now, the Baiyun mansion lacks geniuses like Lord Qin. I believe that it won't be long before the Baiyun mansion has another god martial realm expert. Marquis Baiyun took a sip of tea and said with a gentle smile, Marquis, you flatter me. I am good at judging people. The two of them chatted in the pavilion. However, rather than chatting, it was more like Marquis Baiyun was talking while Qin Shujian was replying. Not long later, Li Guangman walked over with a tray in his hands. There was a jade thumb ring on the tray. Immediately, the tray was placed in front of Qin Shujian while Li Guangman retreated to the side. Consecrator Li, please sit down. Thank you, Marquis. Li Guangman answered and sat down. Marquis Baiyun looked at the jade thumb ring and said to Qin Shujian, This is a storage ring. All the cultivation methods and martial arts techniques are in it. I'll give it to you together. Marquis, I'm afraid I don't deserve such a reward. Qin Shujian frowned imperceptibly. Although he was envious of the jade thumb ring in front of him, he didn't reach out to take it immediately. He knew about the storage ring. But he knew it was a valuable treasure just by hearing others talk about it. Combined with the martial arts techniques, its value was absolutely immeasurable. I don't have the habit of taking back things that I've given away. If you don't want it, you can throw it away, Marquis Baiyun said casually. He didn't take the storage ring seriously at all. Qin Shujian naturally wouldn't take his words seriously. Hearing this, he picked up the jade thumb ring and cupped his hands to thank Marquis. Thank you, Marquis! Then, he looked at the properties of the storage ring. Name, storage ring owner recognition state, none introduction, a treasure refined by a powerful figure by taking a mustard seed and storing sumaru. Marquis Baiyun reminded him. The storage ring can recognize you as its owner by dripping blood on it. Hearing this, Qin Shujian tried to cut his other finger with his fingertip, but when the fingertip with vital essence brushed past, it only left a shallow white mark. There was no sign of breaking the skin at all. Seeing this, he looked embarrassed. In this kind of situation, he couldn't cut his fingers with a knife. Finally, he controlled his qi and blood and forced a little blood from his mouth, and then it fell on the jade ring. When the blood touched the jade ring, it instantly melted into it, and a faint connection came from it. When he looked at the properties again, after the owner recognition state, there were 3 more words, Qin Shujian. Then with a thought, Qin Shujian found that his mind saw a narrow space, about 10 feet in size, where there were more than 10 cultivation methods and martial arts techniques. Finally, he withdrew his mind from the storage ring and put it on the thumb of his left hand. Qin Shujian found that the size was just right, so he thanked him again. Thank you for the reward, Marquis. Then the two chatted for a while. Finally, Qin Shujian got up and said goodbye. Marquis Baiyun arranged for the servants to send him out of the mansion, and soon only Marquis Baiyun and Li Guang'an were left in the pavilion. Marquis, do you value him a lot? Li Guang'an couldn't help but ask. There was no other reason. For a physical invulnerability cultivator, the previous rewards were already very generous. Even he, who was in the god martial arts realm, felt envious when he saw it. Marquis Baiyun took a sip of tea and said lightly, How many years has it been since there was a zone master? Do you remember the last time there was a zone master in Baiyun Mansion? How far did he go in the end? The peak of the god martial arts realm. If he wasn't arrogant, I'm afraid he would have broken the shackles of the god martial arts realm by now. Marquis Baiyun put down the teacup and said, Qin Shujian's potential is greater than his. He reached the peak of the true martial arts realm in 3 months. This potential can be counted on one hand in the whole great Zhao dynasty. Maybe he got some supreme treasure. Marquis Baiyun shook his head and said, You have to understand that in addition to talent, luck is also the key for a strong man to reach the end. Even if Qin Shujian got a supreme treasure, it was also because of luck. Remember, anyone who wants to seize the providence and opportunity of others is often damaging their own providence. If you are not careful, you will be punished by heaven. At the end of his words, he took a deep look at Li Guang'an. Li Guang'an's heart skipped a beat. He lowered his head and said, I understand. I don't think he is a rebellious person. The seeds planted now will take root and sprout one day. Compared with the 13 prefectures of the great Zhao dynasty, Baiyun Mansion has fewer strong men after all. Now the world is in chaos. First, Marquis Feng started an uprising, which caused the situation to become turbulent. Now, other feudal lords are unwilling to be left out. Maybe this is the era of great competition. Marquis Baiyun muttered to himself. On the other hand, Li Guang'an lowered his head. His back was soaked in sweat. Hearing what Marquis Baiyun said, he didn't dare to interrupt. To put it bluntly, he was only a consecrator of Baiyun Mansion. He was not qualified to talk about this kind of world affairs. Even Li Guang'an had the impulse to turn around and leave. Because sometimes, the more he heard, the more trouble there would be. If he was not careful, even a warrior of the god martial arts realm would not be able to survive alone. Fortunately, the Marquis of Northern Cloud only muttered a few words under his breath. Li Guang'an heaved a sigh of relief when he heard that. Chapter 165. When they returned to Yuan Sect, all the players suddenly had the illusion of returning home. Although they had only been away for 2 or 3 days, the continuous fighting in the demon disaster made even the players feel mentally tired. However, after returning to Yuan Sect, all the players immediately chose to submit the mission. This time, Qin Shujian gained a lot and was in a good mood. They were rewarded with 5 contribution points for killing a devil calamity. After all, there were also fallen bone demons and evil corpse bosses among them. Hence, the average reward for each kill was 5 contribution points, which was actually not a lot. But with the considerable number of kills that the players had, even if each kill was worth 5 contribution points, the final accumulation of contribution points could be said to be massive. Not to mention, after completing the mission, the massive amount of experience points directly filled the experience points of some of the 10th stage of the martial arts realm players. Damn it, if I do another mission like this, I can be promoted to an elite disciple. Lu Dazhong looked at the 1,700 contribution points on his identity token and felt that life was so beautiful for the first time. That was more than 1,700 contribution points. This was enough to be of great use. After all, entering the library as an inner disciple once and 3 times only gave him 200 contribution points. Looking at the full experience points, Lu Dazhong asked Miao Yuqing next to him. Is your experience points full? Almost. Let's go to the practice hall to get the real martial realm cultivation method together? That's fine, I'm not that far off anyway. Miao Yuqing looked at the almost full experience bar and nodded in agreement. Any inner disciple who had reached the 10th stage of the martial arts realm, they could go to the practice hall to get the next level of the real martial realm cultivation method. This was another benefit of joining the sect. On this day, many people went to the practice hall to get the real martial realm cultivation method. After all, to get the true martial chapter cultivation method, they had to enter the 3rd floor of the library. Instead of spending contribution points to learn the cultivation method, why not take it for free? Inner disciple Wang Jiao, variant human, successfully promoted to an elite disciple. Inner disciple Lu Bai, variant human, successfully promoted to an elite disciple. In the bedroom, Qin Shujian was studying the storage ring when the system message appeared in his mind. Elite disciple. To be honest, those who were promoted to elite disciples had probably killed a lot of enemies during the devil calamity. As soon as the words potential appeared in his mind, he threw the matter of the players to the back of his mind. The matter of the players was not the most important thing to him right now. The most important thing right now they were the two cultivation methods and martial arts that were placed in front of him. Great Dream Spirit Capturing Skill, Spiritual High Grade, Great Wasteland Devil Suppressing Seal, Mid-Grade Divine Rank. To be honest, Qin Shujian had always thought that the spiritual level cultivation technique and divine level martial arts that the Marquis of Northern Cloud had given him were of low grade. But now, it seemed that he was wrong. The upper-level Great Dream Capturing Spirit technique could be trained to the peak of the spiritual martial force. Although the Great Desolation Devil Suppressing Seal wasn't a high-grade god martial artifact, it was still a mid-grade god martial artifact. According to Qin Shujian's estimation, it was probably worth a fortune. There was no hesitation. He immediately flipped open the two cultivation methods and martial arts. You've learned the high-grade spirit rank Great Dream Spirit Capturing Technique. You've learned the mid-grade divine ranked Great Desolation Devil Suppressing Seal. In an instant, the entire contents of the two cultivation methods and martial arts had already appeared in his mind. When he looked at the Great Dream Spirit Capturing Technique in detail, Qin Shujian finally understood what the spiritual martial force was. If one were to say that the basic martial realm meant that one's physical body had reached the state of being one with the elements, then one's physical body would have no flaws. Then the true martial force was to cultivate the true essence to the peak and make the qi reach perfection. If the corporeal body was not lacking or leaking, then it was essence. The perfect true essence was qi. When the essence was deduced to the peak, then it would naturally be able to give birth to the spirit. The spiritual martial force. Cultivation was the spirit. Spiritual sense attacks and controlling objects to kill people were all methods of the spiritual martial force. If the true martial force realm is a step towards the transcendent realm, then the spiritual martial force realm is probably closer to the transcendent realm. Qin Shujian thought in his heart. Then, he looked at the Great Desolation Devil Suppressing Seal. Looking at the mid-grade god martial artifact, this was the highest grade of martial arts that he had ever obtained. A mid-grade true rank Wisdom King Prison Breaking Saber had already increased his battle strength by a lot. Now, the mid-grade god rank Great Desolation Devil Suppressing Seal was the truly terrifying part. However, he glanced at his source of life. Qin Shujian could only helplessly shake his head. Too little. After continuous consumption, now there was less than 10,000 life source left. Other than being able to upgrade some low-level martial arts, or the martial arts chapter of the Great Dream Spirit Capturing Technique, there was no other use. After thinking about it, he still hadn't used up the last of his life source. What if he wanted to issue a mission or something? It would be very awkward to have no life source. As for the remaining 10 high-grade true rank martial arts, Qin Shujian looked at them and put them aside. With the Great Desolation Devil Suppressing Seal, looking at the true rank martial arts again, he always felt that it was a little lacking. Putting aside the matter of the martial arts, Qin Shujian took out the 1,000 mountain blood and placed it in front of him. Looking at the 20 points of luck value on it, he didn't know whether it was better to leave it for the fusion of martial arts, or to directly pile it on the 1,000 mountain blood. Just like that, a man in a saber quietly stayed there, no one making a sound. Until more than an hour later, Qin Shujian picked up the 1,000 mountain blood and directly threw 10 luck points in. In an instant, on the crystal-like long saber, there was another engraved pattern, followed by a strong thought rising from the saber. Buzz, an invisible wave swept in all directions. In Yuan sect. At this moment, all the swords and weapons began to vibrate. It was as if they had encountered something terrifying, or as if they were welcoming a supreme existence. A sudden change. It shocked many people. However, no one knew where this change came from. And in the bedroom, looking at the 1,000 mountain blood that had already transformed into a high-grade spirit weapon, Qin Shujian didn't have much joy on his face. After all, there was a reason. It was because the sect was still at level 3. the consumption of 10 luck points. It wasn't enough to upgrade from level 3 to level 4. Looking at the remaining 10 luck points, Qin Shujian's mind moved slightly, and another luck point fell on the 1,000 mountain blood. In an instant, a third, almost undetectable, shallow pattern appeared. 2 points. 3 points. When Qin Shujian threw in another 5 luck points, he finally felt the transformation of Yuan Sect's luck, and received the corresponding message. Yuan Sect is favored by heaven and earth, and its luck is at its peak. It has been upgraded to a level 4 force. Level 4 force. Yuan Sect's members, except for mutants, have their realms upgraded by 5 levels, can't exceed spiritual martial realm. Yuan Sect's influence has expanded. As a Yuan Sect member, your realm has been upgraded. As you are already at level 10 of the true martial realm, your realm upgrade has failed. You have received an additional 20,000 HP. Boom! Cheng Fang, who was teaching in the drill hall, suddenly had a surge in his aura. His original level of level 3 of the true martial realm directly rose to level 8 of the true martial realm, reaching the level of physical invulnerability. With the help of Imparting Elder, his realm was directly stabilized at the peak of level 10 of the true martial realm. The players who were listening to the lecture were suddenly shocked by this burst of aura. Looking at Cheng Fang, who had his eyes closed in front of them, their faces were full of shock. What was going on? How could a lecture break through his realm? This scene? It happened everywhere in the Yuan Sect. A disciple at level 10 of the basic martial realm directly leaped to level 4 of the true martial realm, who was in the inner invulnerability realm. Those who were elders had basically reached level 2 of the true martial realm. At this moment, they had directly crossed the boundary of the inner invulnerability realm and become level 7 of the true martial realm, who was in the outer invulnerability realm. With the help of other forces within the Yuan Sect, they were on par with the peak of the true martial realm. The terrifying aura of everyone's breakthrough gathered together, directly shaking the clouds and dispersing them. Even the entire Liangshan True Dominion felt this pervasive aura. What happened? Zhang Baiqing, who was in the true martial realm, directly walked out of the study. Feeling the pressure on his heart, he couldn't keep calm. Mayor! Hong Bin, who was also in the true martial realm, rushed over at this moment. Seeing this, Zhang Baiqing immediately asked, "What happened?" "I'm not sure either." Hong Bin's face was full of shock and confusion. He was also at a loss about the sudden change. Investigate it right now! In the Ox Demon Cave, Ox Demon Lord, who had quietly broken through to the true martial realm, only raised his eyelids. Then, he turned sideways and went back to sleep. No one else knew what was going on. The Ox Demon Cave was so close to the Yuan Sect, so how could it not know? That valiant aura had clearly erupted from the Yuan Sect. Ox Demon Lord, who had already paid the protection fee, thought that the stronger the Yuan Sect was, the better. After all, the Yuan Sect had been able to easily crush the Ox Demon Cave yesterday. Today's Yuan Sect would be no different. On the contrary, the stronger the Yuan Sect was, the safer he would be. Qin Shujian also sensed the Yuan Sect's words. The level up of a level 4 force had allowed the Yuan Sect to have over 1,000 inner invulnerability realm experts. That terrifying aura gathered together, even he felt his heart tremble. Over 1,000 inner invulnerability realm experts and 10 outer invulnerability realm experts. Even someone like him, who was at the peak of level 10 of the true martial realm, would have to turn and run. 1,573 inner invulnerability realm experts and 10 outer invulnerability realm experts. I'm afraid that not many people in the True Dominion can contend with such strength, Qin Shujian muttered. According to his understanding, an inner invulnerability realm expert was already a true blue elder in the sects he had come into contact with. Experts like this, the Yuan Sect had 1,573 of them. One level up of the force had directly changed the bird gun into a cannon. Qin Shujian suddenly realized that if these NPCs wanted to increase their strength, it would be faster to rely on the power of the force to increase their strength. When the erupting aura gradually subsided, his gaze landed on the 1,000 mountain blood. At that moment, the third line path was already somewhat obvious. The 3 lines gathered together and wriggled a little before directly forming a mysterious symbol. However, when one looked at it carefully, one would realize that the symbol was still somewhat incomplete. When one looked at the 1,000 mountain blood's attribute again, Qin Shijian's gaze suddenly froze. A half-step Dao weapon! Chapter 166. Half-step Dao Artifact. Looking at the crystal-like blade, even if there was no drive, its sharpness was revealed, causing the temperature of the entire room to drop a few degrees. Even his invincible Vajra level 1 body had the illusion of being torn apart by this sharpness. This was a half-step Dao artifact. As long as it was tainted with the words Dao artifact. Even if it was not a complete Dao artifact, it was not something a spirit artifact could compare to. How strong was a Dao artifact? Qin Shijian only needed to think of the battle in the desolate ordinary realm before, when Li Guangnan used half a Dao artifact broken arrow to directly injure the Gui Water Evil Lord, he could tell. When he seriously looked at the incomplete symbols on the crystal blade, a mysterious feeling welled up in his heart. Even the Raging Flame technique and 100 River Sea technique that had reached the true martial chapter were faintly touched. As for the Great Dream Capturing Spirit technique that was still at the first level of the basic martial chapter, it directly jumped to the third level of the basic martial realm. In addition to that, all the martial arts that he cultivated had reached a certain level of comprehension, and his understanding had also deepened by a few degrees. The mortal lower level 7-leaf flower piercing palm had quietly risen from the perfection stage to the greater perfection stage. You have observed the incomplete Dao aura, and your cultivation has improved. Looking at the system's information, Qin Shijian's mind shook violently. Incomplete Dao aura. Just by carefully observing, one could comprehensively improve one's cultivation technique and martial arts. This was the same as the principle of one method being able to learn all methods. Enlightenment. It was an all-round improvement. At this moment, Qin Shijian already understood the terror of a Dao artifact. It could be called a sect's most precious treasure. Any sect. The existence of a Dao artifact was equivalent to having an undying inheritance. After all, comprehending the Dao aura on a Dao artifact could directly improve one's cultivation technique and martial arts. How could such an existence be compared to ordinary things? After suppressing the shock in his heart, Qin Shijian looked at the extra 20,000 life sources, and then looked at the plus sign behind the great desolate demon suppressing seal. With a thought, 10,000 life sources consumed. The great desolate demon suppressing seal directly rose to the next level. At this point, his gains from the devil calamity in the desolate ordinary realm had been completely depleted. No, the trip to the new ordinary realm in a few days hasn't been taken into account yet. Qin Shijian dismissed this thought as soon as it appeared in his mind. Then, he fetched a brush, ink, paper, and inkstone. Doesn't that mean I don't have to worry about true martial realm cultivation techniques anymore? Enduring the pain of entering the book collection pavilion once, I didn't expect to encounter such a good thing. The players were abnormally excited. This wave of blood was not a loss. Even the people waiting in the resting area walked over at this moment. Because the cultivation techniques and martial arts within the book collection pavilion were limited, it was impossible for everyone to enter and immediately study. If the cultivation techniques and martial arts that they wanted were in the hands of others, they would need to wait in the resting area. Otherwise, once the time was up, they would be kicked out. Only by waiting in the resting area would they not waste the time in the book collection pavilion. Now that Qin Shijian had added 10 more martial arts to the third floor, naturally more people could comprehend and cultivate at the same time. Not to mention the commotion caused by the third floor. There was no one on the fourth floor of the book collection pavilion. middle-grade divine martial great desolation demon suppressing seal and high-grade spirit rank great dream capturing spirit technique were all placed on the 4th floor by Qin Shujian. There are still too few cultivation techniques and martial arts. Qin Shujian looked at the empty 4th floor and then thought of the first 3 floors when he came up. He couldn't help but shake his head. With his strength alone, even if he tried his best to collect cultivation techniques and martial arts, it would still be an extremely difficult matter to fill the book collection pavilion. Very quickly, Qin Shujian turned around and went down. After leaving the book collection pavilion, he went straight to the mission hall. Then someone found out. Next to the permanent mission of collecting materials, there was an additional permanent mission of collecting cultivation techniques and martial arts. As long as the cultivation techniques and martial arts that the book collection pavilion didn't have, they would be able to obtain the corresponding contribution points. Drawing the sword. Sheathing the sword. Drawing the sword. Sheathing the sword. Peng Qing had been repeating this action. The simple action of drawing the sword and sheathing the sword, when performed by him, had a different charm. Since entering the game, he had drawn the sword millions of times. Besides the normal eating and resting, the rest of the time was spent on practicing drawing the sword. Since he was a child, Peng Qing had always had a dream of being a hero, hoping that one day he could become a real hero. For this, he had also visited many famous martial arts schools or sects, but found that the things inside were just to fool people. Over time, Peng Qing could only extinguish the thought in his heart. Until this game came out, when he entered the game, he found that this was the world of his dreams. Peng Qing looked at his own attributes. The basic martial arts chapter of the Divine Blade Codex's experience bar was full. After entering the game, although he didn't really fight monsters to level up, every time he drew the sword, he would gain a small amount of experience. After drawing the sword 5 million times, his realm naturally reached the 10th level of the basic martial arts realm. As for the massive amount of EXP rewarded, his EXP bar was full to the brim. If it wasn't for the shackles of the ordinary realm. At this moment, he was a true martial arts realm expert. Peng Qing raised his head to look at the sky. In his line of sight, there were black threads intertwined into a large net. The moment he saw the net, thunder rumbled in the sky. The heavens and earth had sensed that someone was about to break through the shackles. Feeling the terrifying power of the thunder in the sky, Peng Qing's right hand gripped the hilt of the sword. His mind returned to the calmness he had when he drew the sword 5 million times. Then, a gust of wind blew. With a slash of the sword, the gust of wind turned into a flurry of blades that swept through the sky, slashing directly at the black net. Frenzy blade flurry slash. Chapter 167. That's awesome! It's actually possible to become a domain lord. I'm begging for this big shot's contact information. What about the sect? Has the big shot established a sect yet? Please wait for me. The first player to break through the shackles and become a domain lord caused a sensation among the player group. On the forum, there were posts about breaking through the ordinary realm everywhere. Because before this, many top players in the game had tried to break through the shackles of the ordinary realm, but without exception, all of them failed. Some of the more serious ones. One failure directly dropped them out of the first echelon. After a long time, no one was stubborn enough to try again. Because some people guessed that perhaps it was impossible for players to become a domain lord. Only NPCs in the game had such privileges. But now, the appearance of a newly promoted domain lord completely reversed the situation. For a time, the originally quiet atmosphere of being a domain lord spread among the players again. To be able to become a domain lord, no player would refuse. This kind of thing that could bring both fame and fortune, there were many people who pursued it. Domain lord! Chao Hong's killing of monsters paused slightly. Hearing the words of the person beside him, his expression was somewhat subtle. It was different from when he was in the novice village. At this time, he was also a true martial realm expert. He was fortunate enough to enter a large sect and become a direct disciple. In the player group, people like Chao Hong were already considered to be doing very well. However, there was always a thorn in Chao Hong's heart. After entering the game for so long, the NPC that he had fallen to the hands of the most was none other than the Liangshan Stronghold Master. The reason why he was able to grow so quickly was also because of this anger in his heart. Not steaming a bun to fight for his dignity. This was the first time he had been abused so badly by an NPC. If he didn't get back at him, Chao Hong would feel uncomfortable for the rest of his life. Have you contacted the players who joined Yuan sect? Chao Hong tilted his head and looked at Lu Qihong beside him. Maybe they were like-minded, or maybe they were in the same boat. He found that Lu Qihong was also a player who had been oppressed by the Liangshan Stronghold Master, and immediately walked together with him. Hearing this, Lu Qihong said in a deep voice, I just received news that Yuan sect suddenly has more than 1,000 inner energy realm experts. It should be a level up. More than 1,000 inner energy realm experts. Chao Hong's face immediately darkened, and the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. What kind of concept was over 1,000 inner aura practitioners? Even in the sect he was currently in, there were less than 2 digits of inner energy realm experts. It also meant that his original plan of using the current sect to fight to the death with Sky Origins sect had fallen through. With over 1,000 inner energy stage martial artists, a collective fart would probably be enough to destroy his sect. F***CK. Chao Hong couldn't help but curse. He said angrily, Is this mother King Liangshan Stockade Master cheating? More than 1,000 inner aura realm martial artists, why doesn't he go to heaven? I bribed a few players to observe Sky Origin Sect's situation. Let's see if we can help Cold Mountain Chieftain. This NPC can fly faster than us players. If this goes on, the chances of us taking revenge will become lower and lower. Lu Qinghong's expression was also extremely ugly. His anger towards Qin Shujian was no less than Chao Hong's. Being killed while playing games was actually a very normal thing. However, this was the first time they had encountered someone as ruthless as Mount Liang's fort master. Even Lu Qinghong, Chao Hong, and the others had already contacted the players who had been persecuted and secretly formed an alliance to destroy Qin. As for who this Qin was, needless to say, they were all well aware. I plan to do that mission first and get the follow-up cultivation technique. What do you plan to do? Let's go together. Lu Qihong looked at his mission and finally sighed. Inside Sky Origin Sect, Qin Shujian had been living in seclusion for the past few days. Since he had obtained a new cultivation technique, he naturally had to cultivate more. When he was free, he would try to comprehend the incomplete seal on the 1,000 mountain blood. However, as he comprehended it more and more, in addition, because the seal was incomplete, the help it could provide was getting smaller and smaller. As Sky Origin Sect's strength grew stronger, Qin Shujian suddenly had the idea of opening the mountain gate to the public. A 4th-grade force can raise the realm of 5,000 people. However, excluding the players, there are only about 1,000 people. If this goes on, it will be a waste of a lot of power. Moreover, Sky Origin Sect now occupies Mount Liang, Stone Forest, and Xining Plains. The current number of people is still too little. Not long after the rebel army was annihilated, Qin Shujian sent people to take over Xining Plains. As for the newbie village on Xining Plains, he didn't touch it. For the current him, the life source that the low-level players could provide wasn't much. Moreover, rather than killing the players, it was better to use it as a reserve force and think of a way to incorporate it into Sky Origin Sect. After all, Qin Shujian had already tasted the benefits of the player's life source contribution. No one would reject the idea of earning life source while lying down at home. The day before he went to Ancient City, Qin Shujian summoned all the elders in Chenwu Hall. Sect Master! After seeing Qin Shujian, everyone immediately bowed. Take a seat. Qin Shujian said calmly. In his eyes, everyone's attributes were revealed. Without exception, they were all physical invulnerability experts. Even the bonus from the position of elder had increased his rank by 1 realm. In other words, among the people present, as long as they were within the Sky Origin sect's sphere of influence, the lowest cultivation level was at the 9th level of the true martial realm. The highest cultivation level was at the peak of the 10th level of the true martial realm. However, they had truly reached the peak of the true martial realm. Only Jingfang and Wang Taizhu were present. When the spirit eye flickered, everyone's loyalty appeared in Qin Shujian's eyes. Compared to the past, this time, everyone's loyalty had increased a lot. The lowest level was at least 95 points, which was close to the level of die-hard loyalty. As for Jingfang, his loyalty had reached 99 points. He was very close to being no different from the original mountain bandits of Cold Mountain Stronghold. Everyone should be very clear that the Sky Origin sect has been promoted to a level 4 force. Following Qin Shujian's words, the rest of the people's expressions turned solemn as they listened attentively. Now that the Sky Origin sect's strength has increased steadily, I believe that not many sects in the True Dominion can compare to it. Although the Sky Origin sect controls 3 territories of the Cold Mountain True Dominion, it has always been based on the Cold Mountain True Dominion. But all this time, we've only used Cold Mountain as our base. We rarely manage the Stone Forest and Shining Plains. While speaking, Qin Shujian looked at everyone's expression and continued. Apart from the 3 elders of martial arts imparting, mountain guarding, and law enforcement, Elder Wang Taizhu, and Elder Su Yuanming, the rest of the elders need to leave Cold Mountain and set up a mountain in other regions. Each elder can bring 100 inner invulnerability experts with them. Hearing this, apart from Jingfang and a few others, everyone's expression changed slightly. Set up a mountain. This seemed to be an act of delegating power, but not many people were willing to do so. Not to mention anything else, in terms of spiritual energy, there was no place comparable to Cold Mountain. Cultivating here for a day was equivalent to cultivating outside for 2 or 3 days. However, although Qin Shujian's words were calm, they contained an undeniable meaning. In addition, his influence in the Sky Origin sect was getting stronger and stronger. No one dared to refute him. Seeing this, Qin Shujian's expression eased a little. He smiled faintly. In half a month, the Sky Origin sect will open. Any elder who sets up a mountain will be able to take in disciples. It doesn't matter if it's an ordinary person or an expert. As long as they have a good character and are talented, they can enter our Sky Origin sect. Yes, Sect Master! Zhenhong and a few others looked at each other. They all cupped their hands and replied at the same time. If that was the case, they could accept it. After all, although the position of an elder was respected in the Sky Origin sect, apart from the 5 elders, the others didn't have much real power. But if they set up another mountain and could take in disciples of their own faction, it would be completely different. Subsequently, after Qin Shujian gave a few instructions, the rest of the people left. Another mountain. For Zhenhong and the others, this wasn't a small matter. This was equivalent to establishing a branch of the Sky Origin sect. In addition, the matter of 100 inner invulnerability experts needed to be carefully selected. Just as the other elders were making preparations, Qin Shujian was also preparing to leave for the ancient city. He wasn't too worried about whether his decision this time would affect the separation of the Yuan sect. First of all, there was the issue of loyalty. As long as he could grasp the loyalty of others, he wouldn't have to worry about the possibility of betrayal. In addition, letting the other elders set up a branch of the Sky Origin sect was equivalent to expanding the influence of the Sky Origin sect. By then, there would be hundreds or thousands of people in one faction. Would he be afraid that he wouldn't be able to harvest more life sources? Ancient City. After spending half a day, Qin Shujian also arrived at the place on the agreed day. Marquis Baiyun's villa. When Qin Shujian arrived, someone had already welcomed him in. When he entered, he realized that he was the last one to arrive. The people from the other sects had already arrived. He consciously found a seat and sat down. The people from the other sects all cupped their hands and greeted him. Qin Shujian also greeted them one by one. Soon, an unfamiliar old man walked in. My name is Xiaohong. I will lead you to the Beichuan territory this time. However, before that, please return the pass tokens in your hands. Xiaohong's eyes were cloudy and he looked like an old man. However, no one dared to underestimate him because of this. After all, since he was Marquis Baiyun's man, he couldn't be weak. In addition, the people present looked at Xiaohong as if they were looking at an ordinary person. They were even more shocked. As soon as Xiaohong finished speaking, several attendants came in with trays in their hands and then walked in front of the experts of the sections. Looking at the attendant in front of him, Qin Shujian directly took out his pass token and placed it on the tray. The others did the same. Very soon, all the pass tokens had been handed over. Xiaohong waved his hand and the attendants left with the trays. Chapter 168. The ordinary realm we're going to this time was born 3 years ago. The demons that were born in it have been suppressed. In order to avoid fighting, all parties have agreed on a time to enter together. Xiaohong looked at the crowd and said, You have to remember that although the ordinary realm is in the Beichuan territory, there are still people from other mansions who will explore it. There are some things that I don't need to say. Hearing this, the others were thoughtful. Qin Shujian's eyes flickered. At first, he thought that the quota given by Marquis Baiyun belonged to him, or the ordinary realm of the Baiyun mansion. But now it seemed that they were not the only ones who wanted to go to the ordinary realm to fight for the treasures. Xiaohong's meaning was very straightforward. Benefits moved people. Especially in the newly born ordinary realm, there were many treasures, which were even more tempting. Fight. Fight. When the time came, it would be inevitable. Then, Xiaohong said a few more words, got up, and led the crowd out of Marquis Baiyun mansion. Qin Shujian walked behind, feeling a little excited. He knew very well that Xiaohong was going to take them to the teleportation gate. As for the teleportation gate, Qin Shujian had only heard of it but had never seen it. It was more like a legend to him. They walked along the street. Xiaohong walked at the front, followed by Qin Shujian and the other experts of the sect. No one spoke easily, and the group maintained a certain silence. About 10 minutes later, the pedestrians and people around had disappeared, replaced by a small inner city, which was heavily guarded. I'm here to borrow the teleportation gate on the order of Marquis Baiyun. Xiaohong took out a token and handed it to the general guarding the city. The general took a few glances at the token and immediately returned it respectfully. Then, he stepped aside and waved his hand. Open the city gate! Then, the city gate slowly opened. Xiaohong nodded slightly and then went in first. The same went for Qin Shujian and the others. The teleportation gate of any city is heavily guarded because it concerns the lifeline of the city. Anyone who trespasses on the teleportation gate without permission, regardless of their identity, will be killed on the spot. After entering the inner city, Xiaohong suddenly said again. The others listened in silence. There were many things that the true Dominion sect could not understand. It could even be said that, among the people present, only a few had actually seen a teleportation gate before. All the way forward, there were heavy guards along the way. The city walls were equipped with bows and crossbows, and an invisible murderous aura filled the air. Humans had chi and blood. The army had its soul. A powerful army could disperse the chi and blood of an expert with their aura alone. Obviously. Currently, the troops in the inner city were the true elites of the ancient city. Not long after, an altar that was about 10 feet high appeared in front of everyone. There were 4 people sitting cross-legged around the altar. Qin Shujian was able to sense the powerful aura emanating from the other party. Then, he scanned them with his spiritual eye and discovered that they were all 10th level true martial realm cultivators. When they sensed that someone had arrived, The four of them opened their eyes. One of them asked, "May I know who you are?" "I am Xiao Hong. I am here to borrow the teleportation gate on the orders of Marquis Baiyun." Xiao Hong cupped his hands slightly and took out his identity token and a long jade box. Then, he used his quintessential essence to send the two items over. The person who had spoken reached out and took a look at the token. Then, he exchanged glances with the others and stood up from the ground. He used his quintessential essence to return the token. "Oh, it's housekeeper Xiao. I have been rude. You are welcome." Xiao Hong smiled slightly and took the token. Then, the person opened the jade box and revealed 6 crystal-clear stones the size of a baby's fist. The moment the stones appeared, the surrounding spirit chi of heaven and earth became denser. Everyone's gazes were focused on the stone. Their eyes were burning with excitement. It could attract the spirit chi of heaven and earth once it appeared. Such an item was definitely a treasure. Spirit stones! Yang Zhongning's eyes lit up as if he had thought of something. Hearing that, Qin Shujian was also shocked. Spirit stones. The treasures born naturally were the embodiment of the spirit chi of heaven and earth condensed to the extreme. He had only seen them in records. It was the first time he had seen the real thing, so he did not recognize them immediately. "Please go to the altar first." "Let's go!" Xiao Hongchuan walked up the stairs and arrived at the altar. Then, the others followed him. When they arrived at the altar, they found that there were runes engraved on the altar, which converged into a 6-star array. There was a groove at each corner of the array. When everyone went up the altar, the person took out 6 spirit stones and placed them in the 6 grooves on the altar. In an instant, a powerful force erupted from the altar. A 6-star arc emerged from it, and then the whole altar was covered with a faint blue light. Qin Shujian only felt a thick energy enveloping his body. In an instant the stars moved. A powerful force erupted from nowhere, trying to destroy his body. But wrapped in the thick energy, the destructive force was blocked and offset. It seemed like a moment. But it also seemed like a long time. When Qin Shujian came to his senses, he found that he had appeared in another place. His chi and blood were trembling. His body was buzzing. This was the first time Qin Shujian felt the turbulent chi and blood in someone else's body. He said in a deep voice, "Sect Master Gui Hai Chuan, come in!" As soon as he finished speaking, the door opened as Gui Hai Chuan strode in from outside. Qin Shujian also got off the bed and walked to the table to sit down. Then, he picked up the teapot that was still warm and took 2 cups, filling them with tea. "Sect Master Gui Hai Chuan, please have some tea." "Thank you." Gui Hai Chuan didn't stand on ceremony as he sat down in an imposing manner. "Sect Master Gui Hai Chuan, may I know why you are visiting me so late at night? May I ask if Sect Master Qin is currently at the peak of the true martial realm?" Gui Hai Chuan looked at him with a burning gaze. Qin Shujian's hand that was drinking tea paused slightly. After pondering for a moment, he didn't deny it and said with a nod, "Due to fate, I barely reached the 10th level of the true martial realm. Sect Master Qin's talent is truly astonishing." When Gui Hai Chuan heard that, he couldn't help but be shocked even though he had already guessed it. "This is the first time I've heard of Sect Master Qin's cultivation rising so quickly." With that said, Gui Hai Chuan's eyes burned once again as he said in a deep voice, "Sect Master Qin, do you still remember what I said to you back then?" What he said back then? Qin Shujian frowned and shook his head. "That was just a joke, Sect Master Gui Hai Chuan. I didn't take it seriously. I never joke. Is that true, Sect Master Gui Hai Chuan?" Qin Shujian also put down the teacup in his hand and looked at Gui Hai Chuan with a strange gaze. Where did the other party's confidence come from, to dare to challenge him? If they really fought, he was afraid that he would kill the other party with one blow. To tell the truth, he had a good impression of Gui Hai Chuan. This kind of person was more upright, unlike those petty people who acted one way in front of others. Therefore, if possible, Qin Shujian really didn't want to kill him. Gui Haichuan clearly didn't guess Qin Shujian's thoughts and said with a serious expression, Qin Shujian is now at the peak of the true martial realm. One more step and you will reach the spirit martial realm. With your status as a domain lord, you shouldn't go to spirit realm to break through. But anyone who could become a domain lord was a proud and arrogant person. Gui Haichuan knew very well that the probability of him going to spirit realm to break through was not high. Breaking through the shackles of the true dominion is different from breaking through the shackles of the ordinary dominion. Only a handful of people have been able to break through the shackles of the true dominion and advance to the spirit realm. You want to break through the shackles? Qin Shujian, who could tell what Gui Haichuan was thinking, looked at him with a slightly solemn expression. Break through the shackles. He had never expected Gui Haichuan to be so arrogant. What was the other party's intention for coming over now? It couldn't be, he wanted to use him to complete this step. Chapter 169. Everyone at the peak of the real martial realm wants to do that. However, it is extremely difficult to break through the shackles. Even I am not confident. Gui Haichuan sighed before he looked at Qin Shujian and said, High Sect Master Guan, have also comprehended Saber intent. Let's spar and verify each other's paths. Who knows, we might be able to seize the opportunity to make a breakthrough. Indeed. After hearing Gui Haichuan's words, Qin Shujian finally understood why he was so eager to challenge him. To put it bluntly, he was still unwilling to yield to the shackles of heaven and earth, and wanted to break through this barrier. However, he was not confident. Therefore, he wanted to make use of him to increase his strength as much as possible at the peak of the real martial realm. However, Qin Shujian really wanted to tell her to go to sleep and stop overthinking things. However, Gui Haichuan's burning fighting spirit prevented him from saying anything. How about this? After this trip to the ordinary realm, if Sect Master Gui Haichuan still wants to do this, I will wait for you at the Origin Sect. Okay. Gui Haichuan nodded immediately. Subsequently, he got up and left. The Sect Master of the Heaven Saber Sect came quickly and left quickly as well. There was no sense of hesitation at all. Looking at Gui Haichuan who had left, Qin Shujian shook his head and got up to close the door. He then returned to his bed and sat cross-legged to cultivate the Great Dream Spirit Capture Technique. He had cultivated the Great Dream Spirit Capture Technique to the 10th level of the basic martial realm. Above that was the true martial technique. It had to be said that the upper spiritual technique was indeed much more mysterious than those below the spiritual level. In the same realm, those who cultivated the Great Dream Spirit Capture Technique were obviously stronger than those who cultivated lower-level techniques. However, this was merely a comparison of ordinary cultivation methods. If it was the true martial technique, now, the upper spiritual technique of the true martial technique was completely superior to the Great Dream Spirit Capture Technique. This cultivation method, which was formed by the fusion of many cultivation methods, was the strongest of all the cultivation methods Qin Shujian had come into contact with. Looking at the Great Dream Spirit Capture Technique, Qin Shujian already had plans to integrate it. However, after looking at the other cultivation techniques, he suppressed this impulse. The higher the level of the cultivation technique, the stronger the characteristics obtained after the fusion. In addition, the power cultivated before the fusion would not disappear after the fusion. The two could coexist. This meant that, the higher the level of one's cultivation, the more powerful one would be after the fusion. After taking a look at the source of life, Qin Shujian felt that it was a good idea to cultivate slowly by himself first. Although the speed of cultivation was not as fast as the increase of life force, it was not slow overall. After all, there really wasn't much life source left. Even harvesting wool had to be a gradual process. Although there were quite a number of players in Yuanzhong now, it would still take some time for them to accumulate enough life force to contribute to him. However, Looking at the remaining few thousand life sources, Qin Shujian couldn't hold back. With a thought, 4,000 life sources were consumed. The Raging Flame technique had advanced from the first stage of the true martial chapter to the second stage of the true martial chapter. Feeling the scorching power in the true essence, and seeing that the life source had dropped to 3 digits, Qin Shujian could finally cultivate in peace this time. The next day, after a simple breakfast, under the lead of Xiaohong, everyone left the Beiyun mansion and headed out of Yang City. After a night's rest, the negative effects brought about by the teleportation had basically been completely eliminated. Soon, they arrived at the border of Chuanyang True Domain. There were people crowding around. There were also experts' auras in the sky, intimidating those who wanted to enter the ordinary realm. The people from the Beiyun mansion are here? The leader is Xiaohong. After seeing Xiaohong, many people's expressions changed slightly. However, more people's eyes fell on the people behind Xiaohong. Qin Shujian glanced at the team and found that most of the people gathered here were experts of the true martial realm, and most of them were above the physical invulnerability realm. Among them, there were also a few people whose auras were hidden, giving him a great sense of threat. I didn't expect Housekeeper Xiao to come in person today. We've been waiting for a long time. A middle-aged man in a light blue robe cupped his hands and said. What was noteworthy was that when he cupped his hands, his left little finger was missing. Xiaohong looked calm and cupped his hands and said, The people from Wind of Nashan are fast. It's a long journey. Of course, they should be faster. While Xiaohong was talking to the others, Qin Shujian turned his gaze to the front. What entered his eyes was the extremely dense spiritual qi of heaven and earth. Even the sky was covered in a faint cyan color. When he looked with his spiritual eye, in the faint cyan spiritual qi of heaven and earth, there was a 7-colored light that was faintly discernible in the sky, as if it was the immortal court. 7-colored light! Barrier of heaven and earth! Qin Shujian was shocked. He was no stranger to the 7-colored light. He could see it at the limit of heaven and earth. However, it only appeared at the limit of heaven and earth. Moreover, he could see it directly without using his spiritual eye. However, in this situation, it was more like after the heaven and earth barrier disappeared, there was still a little bit left. It had become extremely illusory. Only when he used his spiritual eye could he see some clues. At this moment, the aura that suppressed the entire ordinary realm dissipated. From the 4 highest mountains in the ordinary realm, there were flowing lights that were heading toward Chuanyang True region. The flowing lights appeared. It only took a few seconds for the flowing lights to disappear. When the flowing lights completely disappeared, what appeared in everyone's eyes were 4 people in gilded armor and golden helmets. Their faces couldn't be seen clearly. It's the Golden Armor Generals! Someone cried out in surprise. Qin Shujian's heart skipped a beat. Golden Armor Generals! Although he didn't use his spiritual eye to see, he could tell from the power of the other party. They were at least in the spiritual martial realm, or even the god martial realm. Qin Shujian looked at the golden armor of each golden armor general. There were different patterns on it, and Qin Shujian recognized one of them. It was a symbol that belonged to Beiyun Mansion. In other words, each of the golden armored generals represented a mansion. The 4 golden armored generals meant that there were 4 different mansions involved. From the symbol of Beiyun Mansion, Qin Shujian could see a lot of things. From the conversation with Xiaohong and the others, they should be experts from other mansions. But there was one thing that made him curious. Who were the other 3 mansions? No more than 50 people can enter each mansion. The strongest person can't be above the true martial realm. Any cultivator above the true martial realm will be killed on the spot. There are no other restrictions, one of the golden armored generals said in a deep voice. His voice wasn't loud, but it covered everyone's voices. At this moment, Xiaohong turned to the crowd and said, I'll come back in 3 days. When the time comes, I'll send everyone back. Those who don't come back in time will have nothing to do with Beiyun Mansion. Go in. After that, Xiao Hong immediately stepped aside to let him pass. At this moment, there were already people rushing into the ordinary realm. Qin Shujian didn't hesitate and followed the crowd into the ordinary realm. As soon as he stepped in, he felt the rich spirit qi of heaven and earth surge toward him. What shocked Qin Shujian even more was that he didn't sense any shackles here. His cultivation level was also stable at the 10th level of the true martial realm. This meant that, although this was the ordinary realm, the heaven and earth shackles hadn't completely stabilized. This place could still accommodate experts of the true martial realm and above. Only when the heaven and earth shackles gradually stabilized and finally stopped at the martial realm's limit would it be considered a real ordinary realm. At this moment, although it was called the ordinary realm, it could accommodate far more people than the true dominion. Soon, Qin Shujian thought about what the golden armored generals had said. They didn't allow anyone above the true martial realm to enter. What if a true martial realm cultivator entered and broke through to the spirit martial realm here? His eyes narrowed slightly at the thought of this possibility. As for the other people who had entered, they had obviously noticed this as well. Everyone's expression had different changes. Sect Master Qin, do you want to explore this place together? Yang Zhongning asked Qin Shujian as he approached him. No, I'm more used to traveling alone. Then I wish Sect Master Qin a smooth journey. I'll take my leave first. After being rejected, Yang Zhongning didn't force him. He immediately turned and left. As the great elder of the Golden Sun sect, he was also a person of status. He had expressed his willingness to join forces with Qin Shujian out of respect for Qin Shujian's extraordinary strength. After being rejected once, Yang Zhongning stopped pestering him. As for Yang Zhongning's thoughts, Qin Shujian could also make some guesses. There were too many experts who had entered this place, and there were no heaven and earth shackles. It would be safer for a few people to join forces than to travel alone. However, Qin Shujian had never thought of himself as an ordinary person. He took a step forward and disappeared from his original spot in an instant. After the 5-element 8 trigram steps had broken through to the Tao initiation realm, Qin Shujian felt that his speed had reached a terrifying level. He had entered the Tao initiation realm with his footwork. Among the people he had met so far, he hadn't found anyone who had reached this stage. As he wandered around this place, Qin Shujian looked around and paid attention to any changes. All of a sudden, he stopped in his tracks and turned his head to look in another direction. There, the spiritual qi of heaven and earth was intertwined and denser than ordinary places. This was the advantage of the spiritual eye. He could observe the changes of the spiritual qi of heaven and earth and find out what was unusual. He didn't hesitate for too long. Qin Shujian immediately rushed to that location. In the middle of a valley, there was a clear pool of water, and in the middle of the pool, there was a green lotus. The green lotus was swaying and the bud was about to bloom at any time. There seemed to be divine light inside. The spiritual qi of heaven and earth swarmed in and converged into the pool and the green lotus. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.